A young man with blue hair asks a lady if she will allow him to ask her a question. The girl replies that of course, and asks what he wants. But the lady understands that she can't do this anymore. The main character understands that the young man is so close that her heart will stop. The guy claims that he thinks she heard about the flower he is holding in his hands. Perhaps in childhood, she was told a legend about the healing properties of this nectar, to which the girl replies that it is true and everyone knows it. The boy with blue hair claims that his old self would never have believed these children's tales. Well, we are not talking about a legend, but rather about why she gave him this flower because of his illness. No one else knows. The young man offers to enlighten the count's daughter, who also managed to notice something that had eluded the attention of their state's elite. The main character, looking at his calm smile, gets a little scared and claims that this is really a wonderful question. This flower just happened to catch her eye, so she decided to give it to him. But the guy replies that it's impossible. After all, this flower grows only in the Ice Temple, which, according to rumors, is located somewhere in the northern lands. He also asks the lady if she knows that only once was there a holy virgin. But this legend is already 100 years old, and the main character understands that it seems she shouldn't have done this. The young man claims that the flower that is difficult to obtain and that he was hunting for ends up in his hands. So he's curious about how this happened, and the main character is wondering how she should respond to this. Boy, he claims that if the lady had thought of doing something bad against him, she would have to be punished. The main character is frightened by this and claims that she would never do such a thing. But when she looks at her interlocutor's face, she becomes a little embarrassed and apologizes. After which, she declares that she can't do this anymore. A little while later, the lady lies on the floor and realizes that her second life has ended. But she doesn't regret anything because she was full of love and desire to make her loved one happy. A little while ago, a lady was walking down the street and complaining that it had been a long day. The girl glanced at her phone and realized she wanted to get home as quickly as possible. The main character's name is Meira Asuka. She's 30 years old, and in her first life, she was a high school teacher. As the lady was about to reach the bus stop, she saw her boss already leaving. The lady screamed in surprise at him to wait. The bus left, and the main character sighed desperately, realizing that it was the last bus, after which she wondered whether it was worth calling a taxi, since it takes 20 minutes to get home by bus and 10 by taxi. But if she were asked what she would be willing to spend 200 yen on, she would rather spend it on a donation. The proposal weaved the love of a precious prince, after which the girl paid the in-game donation. And when she started to spin the gacha, she saw a rare card, and when she turned it over, then I realized that she succeeded, because she is a legendary and she has a voice line. The card contained a voice that the lady had done a wonderful job today. The main character wondered what kind of voice it was, and whether it should become the property of the entire world, after which she truly understood that the day had not been wasted, and she could easily walk home. As a child, Lady admired her teachers, and so she dreamed of becoming just like them. It seemed to her that, surrounded by students, she would be able to preserve that spirit of youth forever. But the reality turned out to be not so rosy, because working as a teacher is much harder than it seems. She doesn't even have time for lunch, and the lady has to listen to the dissatisfaction of the students' parents. Fatigue and passion accumulate like a snowball, no matter how much she does. But the salary remains the same. The girl can't even remember how many times she doubted this life. One day she almost drowned in her own bathtub due to overwhelming fatigue. But one day, a deity descended upon her. That's how she met her favorite character. She came across a clip from an anime featuring Alexandrite. The title was based on the autumn game of the same name. It's a typical reverse harem story set in a fantasy world. 3 handsome princes woo a girl, and the whole story is literally saturated with fan service for a female audience. It was there that she met Alexandrite, who is an elegant gentleman. He's the perfect, kind-hearted, decent guy, who's simply a godsend. And yet, he has a sad backstory. He found her and keeps quiet about his fatal illness. But despite his difficult life, he truly loves Marine. Lady was always amazed by his love for her. The main character, Marin, is a holy virgin, a count's daughter, and even a potential queen. But honestly, the main character doesn't care, because she loves her precisely for her sweet nature and sense of justice. And after the anime, she noticed a gacha game. The girl got hooked on the donation system, a swamp that slowly sucks all the money out of her. But the main character thinks, what difference does it make if it can at least distract her a little from her sad everyday life? The girl understands that she is simply spending money on something that makes her a little happier and helps her survive these hellish days. She also thinks about her sweet Alexandrite and thanks it for coming into her life. After all, the day has come for the release of the final episode of the anime adaptation. But even this happiness will soon fly from her hands. The girl realized she needed to prepare tests and grade notebooks. She hadn't slept for 24 hours to get everything done. Well, at least now she's completely free for 20 minutes of bliss. For Donut, she can meet him anytime. But anime is a completely different matter. His voice, shots, and movements. The girl wants to capture every detail, even if she has to down a couple of energy drinks to avoid passing out from fatigue. Only everything turned out to be much worse, and the main character watched as her favorite character plunged into eternal sleep. Marin asks Alex to hold on, but he only asserts that he will always, even in heaven, love only her. The main character immediately screams in horror and asks him not to fall into eternal sleep, but at that very moment, the credits roll on the screen. She realizes she'd been expecting this, but she still cried over the explosion until the morning. After its immersion, Marin went into eternal sleep to join Alexandrite's main rival. Character into eternal sleep, and why his story had to end this way. The lady also wonders if she donated, it wasn't enough, and it didn't turn out to be as popular as expected. Asuka doesn't understand why they took away the only joy in her life. More and more questions tore at her consciousness at the altar and Alexandrite, and when the lady opened her eyes, she didn't understand where she was or what this place was. The lady also noticed that her back was really sore, but when she approached the window and saw her reflection, she was shocked. Looking around, ICQ realized something. These places were familiar to her, and looking at the castle, she even remembered the game. At that moment, someone addressed the lady. The main character realizes that this is the voice of a very familiar Seiyu, and when the lady turns around, she wonders if this is really reality. The lady sees her favorite character in front of her and immediately becomes embarrassed, after which she even screams. The boy asks Lily, surprised, if she's okay, because she's turned pale. When the young man extends his hand, Lily is shocked and wonders if this is a dream. Well, then the lady understands that this is most likely virtual reality, and she is sure that if she reaches out her hand, then she will pass through his fingers. But when a lady does this, she comes into shock. After all, she feels the skin, the muscles of her fingers, and most importantly, the warmth that comes from his hand. The young man turns to the lady and asks if she is in so much pain that she is unable to even speak. When the main character looks at his face, she becomes embarrassed and cannot answer anything, after which she steps back, screaming. She also says that she's very sorry. The girl screams again that she is sorry that she dared to touch him, and then asks for forgiveness. The blue-haired boy just watches silently as she runs away. When the girl continues on, he wonders in shock why this is all happening. She surveys the area and realizes that she's seen all these locations in the game. Lady also wonders how this is possible and how she ended up there, but she doesn't understand anything, after which the girl keeps tripping over a stone and falling. When she gets up, she says she's in pain. She looks at her forehead and legs and realizes they hurt terribly, which means this isn't a dream, but reality. Right now, she is in the world of the game called Weaving the Love of the Precious Prince. It's true that stories about reincarnation are now very popular among audiences of all ages, but she didn't think such a thing was truly possible. The ladies also wondered if these stories were the author's real experiences of reincarnation in other worlds. But then she realizes that everything is not so, because if it were true, then everyone would be parting with life and looking for themselves in a fairy tale world. The lady also understands that she needs to calm down and collect her thoughts. She feels the pain and warmth of the touch, which means this is reality. And it turns out that she really just spoke and touched her fingertips with the deity. And yet they breathe the same air. The lady understands that she feels the cold and heat that the deity endures. So could it be that the god has taken mercy on her, and he gave her the chance to live life with her little angel? The girl also thanks God for this incredible gift and asserts that she will cherish it for the rest of her life. Asuka also wonders how she ended up there and why, but then realizes that she doesn't care at all because now she has a chance to save her favorite character. But at the same moment, it remembers his tragic end and understands that if nothing is done, then with any character, she can truly fall into eternal sleep. At that moment, the girl looks around and wonders what time period she was thrown into. If you think about it, it looks like it's spring now, and her angel is dressed the same way as at the beginning of the game. At that moment, the lady looks around and realizes she remembers this place. That's where Marin, Onyx, and her beloved man collided. It is there that Onyx must save Marin, and the spark between them will not appear immediately. But this action will make Marine look at him differently, and this is such an important scene that it was even shown in the first episode of the adaptation. If she just stands and watches as Onyx and Marin's relationship develops, then her favorite will plunge into eternal sleep. At that very moment, someone turns to the lady and asks for forgiveness. When the main character turns around, she hears a sweet voice. She realizes that it is the main character's voice. One of the men approaches the girl and asks if she wants to die and what she is doing. Another asks who gave her the right to trade there, and the girl replies that she simply distributes bread to those in need. One of them claims that this is such a bore and suggests that it would be better to have fun with them. The main character understands that this is the very scene, and that her little angel's main rival must be hanging around nearby. When the main character looks back, she finally sees him and realizes that here he is. At the same moment, she thinks about what to do, because in essence, this is a canonical event in history. But if Onyx and Marine meet, then her darling might be about to fall into eternal sleep, so she doesn't even know what to do or how to act. The girl immediately draws a plan in her head, after which he smiles and says that it is brilliant. A little while later, the lady bursts in with clothes and, pointing to one of the outfits, asks the woman to sell it to her. At this time, the brunette passes by the scene of the event and thinks about what is happening there. But at that very moment, someone runs past him, and it turns out to be the main character. While the men continue to tease Marine and ask why she is being so stubborn, because if she goes, she will like it. Then the main character cries out for them to listen carefully. The lady understands that since she was reincarnated in this world, then she will save the life of her beloved. The girl also says how the Chinese stooped to such a cheap knockoff. While all the participants in the brawl look at her in surprise, the girl understands what is between the heroine and the hero. The villain always rises. If she constantly interferes with Marine and Onyx's interactions, either her beloved will find his happiness, or she will do everything to help her beloved become the ruler of this country and will pay taxes, after which she will erect a monument in his honor on this square. The girl realizes that she has chosen the perfect image for the villain, and her plan is bound to succeed. The main character smiles, and Marlene at this time turns to her and asks if she is Mrs. Ariana. The girl turns around and then asks if it is really Ariana. The main character is also shocked and wonders if they really know each other, even though she has never heard that name before. Marin asks Mrs. Ariana what she is doing there, and her interlocutor understands that this is definitely not what she could have expected. But she just wanted to pretend to be a villain to prevent the meeting between Onyx and Marin. But now Ariana is wondering what to do, since she never imagined she'd meet Marine herself. Well, the question now is something else entirely. Who is Ariana? The main character wonders if she's been reborn as something other than a statistic. She turns to Mistress Ariana again, but at that very moment, one of the villains grabs her and claims that they are not finished yet. The main character watches this in shock and ponders what to do. But at that very moment, someone else screams at Ms. Ariana. It turns out to be a maid, and the woman quickly incapacitates one of the villains, after which she glares menacingly at the others and knocks them unconscious as well. Afterwards, she strikes a victory pose. Ariana and Marine are shocked by this, and the main character wonders what kind of strong woman this is. At that moment, the woman turns to Ms. Ariana in tears. She immediately jumps on her and embraces her, and she claims she was so worried, even though she only stepped away for a few seconds to buy her some crepes, and eventually some scum stuck to her. The woman also lifts her mistress into her arms, and she claims that her heart almost stopped when she realized that the lady had disappeared. The maid also approaches Mrs. Marin and apologizes for her mistress's outburst. Her interlocutor insists that everything is fine, but the protagonist wonders if she even knows Marin. At this time, the maid tells the mistress that it is time for them to return to the mansion. The main character thinks about what she is talking about, but at that very moment, the maid starts running. At this time, the main character looks at Marin and is shocked to realize that Onyx is there, and they are about to meet. Ariana, almost crying, claims that she was so close, and the maid just throws the lady into the carriage and comes in for her, after which they immediately set off. At this time, someone else is watching this and notices the coat of arms on the carriage. It turns out to be a guy with blue hair. He realizes that the lady is the Fox Knight's daughter. At that moment, someone else runs up to His Highness and asks what he's doing there. After all, he looks for him everywhere. After which the guy with blue hair apologizes to Harry. He also wonders if he could carry out one of his assignments, and when his interlocutor asks what it is, he understands that he has a bad feeling. A little while later, the main character finds herself in her room, and one of the men claims that it looks like memory loss associated with a head injury. The lady could have sustained this injury by falling while she was alone. At the same moment, the maid screams and asks her forgiveness, as it happened when she was supposed to be looking after her mistress. The man turns to Nadia and claims that while the master and mistress are away, the girl interrupts him and cries out that this is an unforgivable oversight. The main character realizes that the doctor asked, and she simply answered that she didn't know all his questions, and she was immediately labeled as having lost her memory. It all started when she was asked about this person, but the main character only asked who the maid was. Well, when she said this, their faces looked like the end of the world had come, and now she was tormented by a feeling of guilt. Although no matter how much she thinks, she really doesn't know her birthday or the second highest mountain in the country, let alone what she ate yesterday. In the manga, she read about reincarnation in another world. The characters usually retain the memories of the body they were reborn into. But it seems that she is not one of those cases. Although she clearly remembers her past life, she has absolutely no memories. The maid immediately cries out to her mistress and asks her to forgive her, because she only turned away for a minute, and the main character asks her to wait. The maid asks how she can speak so respectfully to someone like her. The main character realizes that this girl is somehow very close to her spirit, and she feels a kindred spirit. The maid here introduces herself and states that she is at the service of Mistress Arya. The main character calls her by name and says that since this is how it turned out, would she like to tell about herself? To which the maid replies, "Of course, and if necessary, she will do everything possible to return all her memories." Somehow, the lady managed to find out something about Ariana from this muscular maid named Nadia. Ariana is the eldest daughter of Earl Foxwhite and is 18 years old. Her parents are currently absent, having left for their estates. They made their high society debut with Moran on the same day, and although they talked, they weren't particularly close. By the way, Ariana was born with poor health, and on the day of her debut, she caught a fever as soon as she arrived at the event, so she had to immediately return home. Since then, she has never been to a ball, despite the fact that she is the heiress of a noble family. She still hasn't found a suitor, and that's all the useful information. Nadia then began to enthusiastically talk about what an angel little Ariana was. In any case, to find out about the current state of this body right away is a great success. Perhaps the heavens will punish her for such words, but she will still say that she is grateful to Ariana for falling so effectively and hitting her head. So now she can continue to operate under the pretext of memory loss. And thanks to this, there shouldn't be any problems gathering information. If that's the case, then we urgently need to develop a plan to prevent death. But at the same moment, someone asks the lady for forgiveness and claims that this letter has just been delivered from the royal palace. The main character is shocked and wonders if this is an invitation to a royal ball, after which the girl is completely shocked, wondering if this could really be the same event. At this point, someone asks their interlocutor if he's heard about his brother Alex. The man replies that it wasn't him and asks what happened, and his friend replies that he himself invited some girl to the upcoming ball. The other guy asks what happened, and then the young man claims that it was brother Alex himself who specially invited someone, so she must be an incredible beauty. This young man's name is Citron Pendragon, and he is also the third prince of the Kingdom of Norald. Onyx claims that this does not interest him, after which his interlocutor asserts that he will soon have to choose his brides anyway. But the brunette only looks coldly at Citron. He only suggests to his interlocutor not to make such a scary face. The young man also claims that he is not interested in the girls his brother Alex chooses. The guy with blue hair is in his bedroom at this time and doesn't feel very well. The young man says that although he received a miraculous healing in church again today, it is already beginning to lose its power. so he wonders if time is really running out. The young man also remembers how the lady spoke inaudibly, and then he came out in a different outfit, saying that she wasn't just fooling around. The young man understands that on the floor, he hopes to be able to create at least one good memory for the end. A score is a place where ladies of high position and social status gather, nobles desperately seeking to maintain the prestige and wealth of their families, surrounded by a luxurious atmosphere and elegant music. They exchange the latest social news, rumors, and even make important business decisions. Of course, among them is the decision about marriage. This was the case in the real world. Realizes with horror that this day has finally arrived. After all, today marks the end of the game's prologue, and this event is called Fate. This is the first major event that occurs after the player has met all the characters for romantic relationships. After Moran communicates with the princes at the ball, the king suddenly gives this order, and the game truly begins. The man said the lady must choose which of the three principles of virtue will become king and marry him, after which they will rule the country together. Such a crazy plot twist is only possible in a game. But what else would you expect from a game where all the main characters are incredibly beautiful? Marin, though confused, bravely accepts her fate and continues to develop relationships with the three princes. The peculiarity of this game is that until the second chapter, there is a general route, and after a certain event at the end of the second chapter, the game switches to the individual route of the prince with whom the most favor points have been collected. In the official walkthrough, she, of course, deliberately corrected all the flags except those of her favorite, and of course she used walkthrough websites to avoid mistakes. She had no interest in any routes other than her favorites. But then the main character remembers what actually happened in the anime, and, banging her head on the table, thinks why she had to see her favorite character enter eternal sleep in other routes. She doesn't care what's in canon, you see. She'll rewrite everything herself. As a villainous aristocrat, she'll break all romantic bonds except those between her beloved Alexandrite and Marie, and at any cost will prevent the beloved character from falling into eternal sleep. A little while later, the girl comes to the ball, and the ladies ask what this curl is and who this noble maiden is. One of them claims that this is so indecent. The maid immediately turns to Mistress Arya and suggests that she stop behaving so inappropriately. She also says that the lady brought a lavender dress. The main character replies that she refuses, after which he understands that the first thing he needs to do is determine Marin's location and take a place next to her. The event of the ball itself is very simple, because Marin is standing at the wall of the ballroom, and the princes, one after another, come to talk to her. Dialogue choices, and she remembers all the important moments for raising flags. If events unfold as in the anime, then Marin. But at the same moment, the main character notices that according to the plot, this is Marin's first appearance in society after her debut. A debut is a coming-of-age event, and simply put, a kind of coming-of-age ceremony. All young women of about 15 years of age had to go through this. This also concerned Marin, who was training to be a saint, and since the girl possessed holy powers, she was kept in the church so that this power would not be used for evil. The girl understands that this is probably why few nobles met with Marin, and in the anime, when the girl was introduced as a possible bride for the prince, the crowd of secondary characters began to make noise. Meanwhile, the main character finally finds what she was looking for. She realizes it's Marin and her crush's future love. It is at this moment that you need to break all the flags leading to other characters, except her favorite and Marin. She, like a villainous aristocrat, will mercilessly interfere with them, after which Marin waves to Ariana, and the main character, with a smile on her face, understands that she is already delighted, and how good it is that she found it right away. Now all that remains is to eliminate everyone except the favorite, as befits a villain, and then everything will be fine. After which, the main character thinks that the principal should be abandoned, because she is completely ready. When the boys approach the Marint, the main character looks at them menacingly, but at this moment, another girl is watching all this in the crowd. A little while later, Marin asks if Ms. Ariana is tired. The main character replies that she's fine, and that she's still a villain, so it's a minor detail. Her interlocutor asks if she's really a villain, and the girl replies that she just let it slip. Meanwhile, Marin moves on and says the lady must be thirsty, so she'll get her a drink. But the protagonist realizes that if she leaves now, she might never run into anyone other than her favorite. When the girl moves on, she passes by one of these, but this only drops a glass of wine on her. Marin ends up covered in red liquid, and most importantly, the heroine realizes that such a scene did not exist in the game. I don't understand. So why is everything like this? The woman at this time apologizes and claims that she does not know what kind of lady there is. A minor noblewoman, but probably she was too busy hunting for men and did not notice. The main character watches all this in shock, and when the villain is about to leave, she approaches her and tells her to wait. The lady asks what she wants from her, and Ariana claims that she should ask for forgiveness for her actions, after which the woman claims that she has already apologized. The main character claims that this does not count as an apology because there was no sincerity in her words. The woman claims that she is fed up with all this and that it does not concern the lady. Ariana asks if this is really true and whether she is offering to watch silently as someone dear to her is being hurt. Then the main character asks the lady to say what family she is from, and of course she knew that she was the daughter of a duke when she behaved like that. The woman, shocked, asks if this is the duke's daughter, and the main character wonders if she really acted so rudely without knowing it. She also wonders what her family will think when they find out. The woman then sincerely asks for forgiveness for her extremely inappropriate behavior, and he begs her to forgive him, after which Marine agrees. The woman then asks if everything is okay, and the main character replies that it is, after which she also suggests that the lady remember that her ignorance will one day lead her to plunge into eternal sleep. Therefore, let her try to get a proper education, and the woman will be horrified after that. She points at the lady, and the main character wonders what happened. When the girl turns around, she sees all three princes standing before her. The main character says that this can't be, and understands that she assumed that they would appear one by one. The girl rehearsed all night long and thought that she was fully prepared. But did all three of them really show up at the same time? She didn't expect this at all. The main character thinks that if only there had been a blessing from the site with a walkthrough. She also prays to God to grant her the walkthroughs of the games, but at that very moment, the brand extends its hand and asks if Marine is okay. The main character of the video understands that things are bad because the Onyx root flag has begun. Therefore, she must at any cost prevent them from touching each other with their hands. The main character immediately grabs the guy by the hand and menacingly asserts that everything is fine with Mrs. Marin, so she asks him not to worry about her. The guy asks why she thinks everything is okay, but at the same time, someone else claims that they both look unsightly in these outfits, and maybe they should change. At that very moment, Marin asks for forgiveness, and the main character understands that she is barely crying because she is still in wine. At this time, the main character remembers the dress that Nadia was holding and says that if you need a dress, she has it. Well, at that very moment, someone else comes up to the lady from behind and picks her up. It turns out to be a young man with blue hair, and he tells the lady to go there too. When the main character turns around, she's completely shocked. She immediately passes out and finds herself in a chair. Someone screams that Asuka looked at the boy, and at that very moment, the lady finds herself in her childhood. Someone claims that they say Ask likes that boy, but he is so poor because that girl liked him. Someone else claims that it is so pathetic and surprising that such a monster even liked anyone. The girl understands that no one will ever love someone like her, so she asks them to stop, after which the lady cries out an apology and jumps out of bed. The girl notices tears in her eyes, and as she wipes them away, she realizes that even in this form, she dreams of those times. She thought she'd forgotten about it thanks to her fascination with her favorite character, but then she wonders where she is now and why she's lying on the bed in a ball gown. Someone asks the girl if she wants water, and the main character answers something and then thanks him. A young man with blue hair watches her with a smile on his face, and the ladies claim that she is coming back to life. At this time, the young man asks if she still wants to sing, and most importantly, the heroine understands that something is wrong. She hears a beautiful voice that stirs her ears and heart, and when she turns around, who is shocked and wonders how it happened that her favorite offers her water. At this time, the guy approaches the lady and says that her face is red and it looks like she has a fever. The main character immediately jumps back in shock, but then realizes that she is falling out of bed. When the children close their eyes and wait, they realize that she didn't really get hurt. Well, when she opens her eyes, she sees a young man with blue hair in front of her. He holds her and asks if she's hurt herself. The main character immediately apologizes. She also realizes she can't tell that she's about to start oozing red from the warmth and scent of her favorite character. She also wonders why her favorite character smells so pleasantly of flowers. Well, then she realizes that the more serious problem is that she could stain her pet with red fluid from her nose, and if that happens, she's definitely headed straight to hell. The girl also mentions his hand, but she can't formulate a sentence, and the guy says that it looks like she's feeling ill again. Therefore, it is better to lie down a little longer, and the main character is shocked and thinks how she managed to get into such a situation. But her favorite is so close, and he has such perfect skin that even the pores are not visible, so she is jealous. Alexandrite claims that she suddenly lost consciousness in the ballroom. Therefore, he decided to bring her there, so that the lady could rest until she came to her senses. Ariana wonders who brought her, but then she smells the guy's scent and remembers how she smelled something similar when she was unconscious. The girl wonders if she not only shamefully fainted in front of her favorite man, but also forced him, who is ill and has a limited lifespan, to carry her. A grave sin indeed. The lady immediately asks for forgiveness, but her interlocutor only puts his hand on her forehead and insists that she shouldn't tense up so much when she's feeling bad. While she was unconscious, it seemed to him that she was in pain, and he was very worried. The lady is shocked and realizes that if he says another word, red fluid will come out of her nose, and there is clearly a sign of tragedy there. The guy tells the lady to stay there and not move, because he will bring his attending physician. The main character understands that she can't stand it at this rate any longer, and that before the red liquid starts pouring out of her nose, she needs to distract herself with something. At the same moment, someone else enters the room, and the main character realizes that she has found her savior. Citron merely looks at this whole situation with displeasure. The boy realizes that he, the third prince, has never been affected before. Never before have they looked at me with such indifferent eyes. The girl, however, tries to stop the red liquid from her nose by looking at something that doesn't interest her. The prince then turns to the lady and asks why she is looking at him like that. The girl replies that she's meditating and asks him to ignore her. Meanwhile, the guy wonders if she's talking about meditation, but this one, born once every 10,000 years, is more beautiful than a national treasure. So is there a woman who can meditate while looking at its face? Naturally, seeing his face, everyone should scream with delight. So the guy thinks what's wrong with this woman. The main character thinks that everything is fine, and she has finally managed to regain her calm, and now the red liquid from her nose should not start again. At this time, Alexandrite asks Citrine what happened, and at the same moment, the main character gets out of bed. She realizes that she was so focused on meditation that she didn't see things properly. Well, this incredibly handsome young man seems familiar. The guy tells the lady to listen. After all, he simply cannot look at this. And what was she even thinking about putting on such a tasteless dress? After all, she is a representative of the nobility, and the main character understands that she knew it. He has such an extremely disrespectful behavior, like the kids in her class, so he is definitely the third prince. Of the three princes, he's the only one who's the son of the second queen, and he has such a handsome face that he could be mistaken for a woman. The anime even includes a scene where he cross-dresses, but he's a self-absorbed narcissist by nature. Of course, she could not see him as an object of adoration, given that he is almost the same age as her students, and she was not going to take him, so she does not know about his achievements or any events involving him. In other words, he is out of sight, and this guy is almost like a student, so you need to show some adult self-control. Lady, she says she really likes this dress, so there are no problems. Her interlocutor claims that he is sorry that such a woman does not listen to his good advice. The main character starts to get angry and thinks that everything is clear, because this is how his childish caustic character manifests itself. As she thought, it was impossible to make him her favorite, after which the prince asks, wouldn't she quickly change into the dress he chose for her, since he simply can't be in the same space with a person without taste? The maid immediately says that she will help them change clothes, but at that very moment, someone else turns to Citron, and he says that he should apologize for such rude words, because he thinks that the lady is beautiful even in this form. It turns out to be Alexandrite. The third prince turns to his brother and asks if he's in his right mind. After all, he couldn't possibly be talking about that vulgar face and clothes. He'd long thought that brother Alexandrite had a rather peculiar sense of beauty. His interlocutor claims that, first of all, he believes that external beauty is not everything, and the main character is thinking about what to do in this situation and needs to at least prevent the red liquid from pouring out of her nose. At the same moment, the main character hears the door to the room open and someone speaks to her. It turns out to be Marin, and the girl says that's where the mistress was. The main character immediately runs to her. She also says that it's just wonderful and understands that it's super cute. Someone might ask what is so great about this dress. But it is the one from the romantic scene, or better yet, the very one from the limited event with Alex and Marie's beloved couple. Who would have thought she'd see it so soon? Well, at that very moment, the main character hears someone claiming that this is where she was. It turns out to be Onyx, and the girl realizes that he has arrived. This guy is the second prince and the sworn enemy of her favorite. Not only did he pretend to be a simpleton and approach Marine, whom her favorite loved with all his soul, so he also took advantage of Marine's kindness and took it away from her favorite, so he's just a complete scoundrel. The girl also recalls the events of their first meeting and understands that after Onyx saved Marin, they had a conversation about how they hadn't seen each other for a long time, and at least that's how it should have been. Well, the problem is that the enemy turned out to be Marin's childhood friend, and, according to the plot, he loved her from the first time they met. The girl thinks about how many love stories about all-consuming love were born from just one meeting of childhood friends, and also one-sided love over so many years. It's no surprise that this is the official couple promoted in the anime, and these settings are too cheating. The main character understands that this is a hated enemy, and because of this, the events of Onyx's route in the anime developed rapidly, and as a result, her favorite fell into eternal sleep. Well, the story is just beginning, and if we somehow manage to break the enemy flag, then everything will probably be fine. At this time, the brunette says that this is where Marine is, and he was looking for her, after which the girl apologizes. Her interlocutor, with a smile on his face, insists that everything is fine, because he himself decided to look for it. After this, Marin turns to His Highness and asks what is wrong with him, and the main character understands that the atmosphere only evokes bad premonitions. The brunette claims that this dress suits the lady very well, and the girl wonders if it was really prepared by His Highness Onyx. Ariana, watching her expression, understands that events are developing too quickly. Marin thanks her interlocutor and insists she likes the dress. Ariana realizes they already look like a normal couple in love. She also wonders if this is the power of an officially recognized couple, and she has such power. If she gives up there, who will save her beloved couple? The lady understands that now is not the time to constantly suffer from red liquid from her nose, and she needs to turn on the knockout mode in one move at full speed. When Onyx extends his hand to the lady, the main character screams for him to wait. The girl understands that if it comes to a dance event, their closeness will immediately increase, and then the enemy's route will begin to rapidly develop, so this needs to be stopped. The lady asks for forgiveness, but states that she believes that she should be next to Mrs. Marin. The brunette asks what she means, and the lady replies that he knows about those unworthy individuals who pestered Mrs. Marin. If His Highness is next to her, then it is obvious that jealous ladies will appear again. In this regard, as a friend of Mrs. Marin, she can drive away such women, so she turns to Mrs. Marin, and he asks to be allowed to stay by her side. The girl then said that it was worth it to think that Mistress Ariana cared so much about her. The main character understands that then she will find an opportunity to recreate that event with her own hands. Well, at that very moment, Alexandrite declares that he's against it. He also claims that the lady recently fainted, so he absolutely cannot allow her to participate in the ball. The main character, looking at his face, understands what's wrong. Marine insists that this isn't good. She also tells Lady Ariana that His Highness is right and that she should rest. The main character tries to refuse and claims that she is completely fine. The girl also asks to take her with her to the ball and understands that she needs to recreate that scene. After this, Marin asks what she should do, because she doesn't mind if Ms. Ariana agrees. The blue-haired guy says there's nothing he can do about it. He takes the lady's hand, after which he kisses her and says that if she allows him to be her dance partner, then he'll let her participate in the ball. The main character is shocked, wondering how this even happened. 6 months ago, a guy asked how the situation was now. His doctor said that if the mole continued to spread, it would spread all the way to the heart. This could cost the master his life. The young man asked how many days it would take him to fall into eternal sleep if he did nothing. His interlocutor claimed he might last a year, and the boy said it was even less than he expected. The doctor insisted they would do everything they could to extend his life. The guy asked her if this meant that there was no complete cure, to which he replied that yes. The young man claimed that it was clear, and he asked him to try to find something anyway. The guy realizes that at first his mole was only on his leg, so he thought it was just an injury. Well then, the mole gradually spread to his arms and shoulders, and the pain he felt became stronger day by day. Then he started coughing up red liquid and fainting. It turned out his body had been cursed by unknown forces, and that according to the report of the attending physician and the chief priest, he only has about a year left. The fact that he has only a year left to live, and since spring, only the king, the high priest, the attending physician, and the secretary have been informed. This information is kept secret from everyone except the king and those listed above, to avoid panic in the kingdom. A short time later, the brunette, shocked, asked what this meant. He insisted that his brother was the most worthy successor to the throne, so why should he exude statecraft? The fact is, the king has urgently decided to appoint Onyx as his heir, because he considers him the ideal candidate. Well, the brunette insisted he couldn't agree to that. Onyx spent a long time explaining to his father why the boy, more than anyone else, was the perfect fit for the role of king. The young man revealed that, thanks to his high moral character, compassion, education, and modesty, he wants to become a perfect knight, serving a perfect ruler. The emperor then asked if he should just tell the boy about it, but Alexandrite said no. Although there was something unsettling about the brunette's words, they filled him with joy. However, the fact remains, and Alexandrite is inexorably approaching the end, and unless a miracle occurs, he will never ascend the throne. A short time later, the emperor claimed that he himself had decided to keep this a secret. Well, maybe it's time to tell his brothers about his health. The young man asked them not to share this secret if word got out that the heir to the throne was cursed. This will create panic among the people and give their enemies an opportunity to take advantage of the situation. And he can't tell his younger brothers about this, nor can he tell them that he will soon fall into eternal sleep. Well, the emperor claimed that Onyx's behavior was alarming, and then the guy suggested using his daughters in that case. His Majesty asked if he meant Marin, to which he replied that yes, and it seemed that Onyx had had feelings for her since childhood. Plus, she possesses the powers of a holy virgin, making her an excellent candidate for queen. If she announces she'll marry whoever she chooses, Onyx might be seriously interested too. The emperor argued that this was not a bad idea, but it was necessary to find out the duke's opinion, since Marine was currently undergoing training in the church as a novice. The guy asked if there were other ways to use her more beneficially than just making her a queen, to which the man replied that it would be fine and that it would be an unprecedented step, but he would try to negotiate with everyone involved, after which the young man thanked His Majesty and was about to leave, but the man called out to him. He told Alex that he shared Onyx's opinion and also believed that the guy was the most worthy of becoming king. The young man told his father that he understood everything. A little later, a letter arrived from the chief priest, who was secretly conducting an investigation. It turns out that in ancient records of saints, there was mention of a similar curse, and it could be removed by drinking the liberum flower tart. Well, these records date back hundreds of years, and it is not known whether they can be trusted. The young man understood that if there was any chance, he had to take it, so he immediately commissioned the priest to find the flower. While he searched, the boy was regularly blessed in church to slow the spread of the mole to his heart. Although this slows down the process compared to the past, the pain he experiences throughout his body is increasing every day. If it weren't for the pain-relieving rituals, he wouldn't even be able to stand. At night, the boy often wonders what he was born with and why this curse befell him. Is he destined only to accept his descent into eternal sleep alone? And he knows that such thoughts are foolish. Well, he still can't drive them away. Now the rest of his life is measured in just 6 months, and a cure for his illness has still not been found. The path to his salvation is gradually closing. Well, at least Pari would like to feel some joy in his final days, what he once felt from the very fact of his existence in this world. And then he met the main character. The guy understands that at first, the lady seemed to him simply an interesting woman. She made such a funny expression when she saw him, and he had never seen anything like it before. The servant asked how this girl dared to behave like this with His Highness. But when he looked at his master, you saw a bright smile on his face. The guy was wondering when he last laughed like that. After which he went for the lady, and the servant asked His Highness to wait. The blue-haired boy realized he wanted to observe this woman a little longer. He didn't understand why she was acting this way. Well, when I met her, I forgot about the pain and laughed. When the guy ran up to her, he asked if she really belonged to the Fox Knight household. As soon as he answered something to His Highness, he asked what had happened to him, after which he gave his interlocutor an order. A ball organized by the royal family will take place soon, so as a true aristocrat, the lady has every right to be there. A little while later, the girl had already arrived at the ball, and Alexandrite understood that if he was next to her, he would be able to laugh until he fell into eternal sleep. And his expectations were justified because she again demonstrated a new and funny expression on her face. Grimaces she has, but he simply cannot take his eyes off her. When he looks at the lady, he wants to laugh, and strangely enough, during laughter, the pain goes away. Perhaps this can be called a miracle, so he doesn't ask God for anything else, only wants him to let him be by her side until the end of his days. At this time, the main character comes out in a new dress, and the young man understands that if it happens as he wishes, then he will undoubtedly be able to plunge into eternal sleep, illuminated by a smile. The guy immediately takes the lady by the hand and asks what happened. The main character tries to answer, but she's too nervous. The girl understands that dancing with her idol means holding hands and clinging to each other. Doesn't that mean she could fall into an eternal sleep from the loss of the red fluid? Well, at that very moment, the girl notices something else. Marin is walking arm in arm with Onyx. The girl thinks how dare he do this when no one sees, but she cannot forgive this fugitive. Well then, the lady understands that she needs to hold on, and she must endure a little in order to reproduce the legendary scene, so she must show maturity. The girl understands that she is the Cupid of love, and to help Alexandrite and Marine realize their love, she will do everything. After which, the lady invites His Highness to go into the hall and adds in her thoughts that she will do everything to strengthen the relationship between Marine and her favorite, and she will also protect his life and happiness with all her might. As the lady heads into the hall, she realizes that her idol's smile is unbearably beautiful, and she's even trembling from it. Citron is standing behind her at this time and talking. After all, he chose this dress. Initially, during the ballroom event in the middle of the game, the player had to choose where the heroine, Marin, should go. She could go to the window, the center of the hall, or near the orchestra. The choice of location determines who the heroine will dance the final dance with, and this is a very important choice because it determines the level of intimacy with that partner. It will be much higher than others. So, no matter what, she mustn't make a mistake in this choice to fulfill her dream of a romance with her beloved. After all, she's carefully studied the walkthrough and knows that the window is the right choice. The lady thought that Alexandrite would simply invite Marine to the balcony and they would chat a little, but how wrong she was. After all, then Alex, like a real hunter of women's hearts, kisses Marin on the hand. The girl understood that this was incredible because they were giving her such hot shots from the very beginning. This is not the legendary scene she wants to recreate, but this is an event where you can get two rare illustrations. That is, if they can push Marine and her pet near the window and she injures her leg, then they will be able to get two desired illustrations at once. Or rather, she will do everything to make it so. Well, when the main character enters the hall, she sees that the girl is already Ariana. She understands that before she could even blink, Onyx had already taken Marin to the center of the hall. The girl is thinking how she can now interfere with these of yours, and at the same time rub raspberries on her leg so that Alex invites her to the balcony. As soon as the music becomes necessary, it will be necessary to change the partner, and that is when it carries its impact. The first thing she should do is drag Onyx away from Marin, and that way she will free her, and the kind Alexandrite will definitely not leave her alone. Well then, the girl also thinks about how to rub her foot, and can force the lady to walk a lot so that she rubs her foot. Ariana understands that this is not right, because it is too cruel towards Marin, but for the sake of the end, all means are good. At this time, Alexandrite turns to the lady and asks what she is looking at. He also asks if dancing with him is really that boring, and the girl replies that of course not. Ariana understands that if she said something like that, all of Alex's fans would put her to eternal sleep, and she herself would not forgive herself. Then the young man asks if it can be considered that she enjoys their dance, or maybe he's the only one enjoying it. The young man claims that's what he was thinking, and the main character thinks it's incredible. After all, his face is just as beautiful as in the photograph. The girl thinks what a joy it is for the eyes, and what a pity it is that she can't take a photo. Said something wrong, and the lady replies that no, and adds in her thoughts that everything is fine. Her favorite turned out to be so talented, the dancer and the girl reflect on how perfect Alexandrite is. It can be called a true work of art, created by the gods. Ladies also think that he is simply perfect, and here she is standing next to him and holding his hand. The mere thought that she might stain it with her sweaty hands makes her shudder. Therefore, before her favorite gets even more dirty, she must at all costs send him to Marin. The lady also wishes the music would end quickly. Cithrin watches all this and understands that it all irritates him. One of the videos addresses the prince and invites him to dance with her. When the next melody starts, another girl also wants to dance with him, after which the two begin to quarrel. Citrin, he understands that all women are crazy about his beauty, and yet this woman is completely different, because she doesn't even look at him, and she doesn't try to hide at all that she's indifferent to him, after which the guy realizes that he doesn't believe it. It can't be that such a woman exists in this world. At that very moment, the young man rises from his seat. The other ladies are shocked and ask where he is going, and the prince realizes that he wants to seduce this woman and make her love him. Someone else turns to Citrinu and asks what he's doing. When the young man turns around, he realizes it's his mother. He immediately bows and declares that he's glad to see his mother in good health. The woman wonders if he should go to the duke's daughter, but the guy asks what she is talking about. His mother wonders if that's why they gathered there, since he needs to choose a bride. Citrin claims that he doesn't understand at all what his mother is talking about, and the woman claims that as soon as the music starts playing, he must ask Duke Marin's daughter to dance. If he does, his chances of becoming king will increase significantly, and the woman wonders if her son understands. The guy apologizes to his mother, but claims that he will decide for himself who to dance with, and also who to seduce. The guy adds in his mind that he'll therefore choose the lady with pink hair. Well, as soon as the dance ends, the main character looks at Onyx, after which everyone runs towards him. But at that same moment, two people grab the lady, and when she turns around, she sees something. Alexandrite and Citrine. Alex asks what Citrin is doing, since the lady is actually his partner. Citrine. He claims the music has changed, so he can change his partner. He also asks if the lady would like to dance with him. Alexandrite claims he doesn't like it, but his interlocutor insists he's asking this girl, not him. The blue-haired young man insists that calling such a beauty simply "this girl" is somehow impolite. The main character is shocked, wondering what's going on. She doesn't understand why there are two of them, who were supposed to be courting Marine. Now suddenly, everyone's attention is on her. The lady wonders if she understands anything and wonders if this is some kind of bug. When she turns to Marin, she realizes that there is already a very romantic atmosphere there. But everything is so confusing. The main character is wondering what to do, and she needs to do something urgently. At that very moment, the perfect solution occurred to her. She turned to the boys and asked if they would be so kind as to let go of her hand, and this is so impolite, after which the lady leaves. She immediately giggles loudly, after which she says that, unfortunately, she has already chosen her next partner for the dance. The lady approaches the two and asks if they could step away for a bit. Onyx asks what she's doing all of a sudden. Well, the lady says that he should be happy because she chose him as her next partner. She also says that the sweet young lady can dance with the elegant Alexandrite. When the music starts playing, the main character grabs Onyx by the hand and claims that she will not let him go. So she suggests dancing. When the two dance, the lady sense some kind of evil energy. The prince asks the girl who she is, and she replies that she is just a noble lady. While the guy claims that he is not talking about this and what she did with his brother, the main character only looks at him with sarcasm, and the guy cries out that his noble brother is known for his impeccable reputation and virtue. I've never been a fool obsessed with one woman, but now that he's flying next to her, even he, who is his brother, has never seen such an expression on his face. And the lady is a witch who controls her brother's mind with black magic. The girl immediately starts to get angry and claims that she would never do such a thing. In this world, black magic is a curse that harnesses the power of evil gods. It's said to control people's hearts and cause disasters, and those are quite dangerous things. The Holy Virgin, like Marine, performs miracles with the help of divine power, so the witch and the saint are complete opposites. Event in the anime and games, when her favorite characters stopped a certain witch, she tried to use black magic, but these two saved the city, so the ladies understand that their interaction then was simply amazing. The brunette tells the lady to listen carefully, because at least for now the situation is still bearable, but he believes there's a more suitable woman for his brother. Her brother's heart, he will not show leniency. The main character says what a coincidence this is, because in fact she was thinking about the same thing. The girl also tells the guy to look in that direction and claims that it is Lady Marin. She is the only one worthy of His Highness Alexandrita. Looking at these two, the lady also thinks how sacred this scene is, and yet she wants to preserve this image. The main character asks if these two are not a wonderful couple, but when she looks at her interlocutor, he is a little surprised, but he insists that this is indeed the kind of girl that suits his brother. The lady at that moment thinks that he shouldn't make such a face because now she has a great feeling of guilt. Well, she still won't give up to prevent her beloved character from falling into eternal sleep. She vowed to become a demon or a villain. The main character also says that if His Highness understands, then he should never approach them again. Well, at that very moment, someone screams for silence in the hall, and when the lady turns around, she sees His Majesty. The main character understands that the very event has undoubtedly begun, and the Emperor says that his visit is unexpected. Well, he wants them to listen to something, after which the man turns to Marin. The main character realizes this scene is just like in the anime and in real life, which impresses her even more. Temperature claims he has 3 princes and believes each of them is worthy of becoming king. Therefore, he has a request for the Duke's daughter and the saint. Ariana understands that, although this is a hasty development, demonstrating the creator's desire to quickly move on to the main plot, it should not be paid attention to. He turns to the lady again and asks her to choose from 3 principles of that who, in her opinion, is worthy of becoming king. Marry him and they can rule the country together. The main character realizes that it's finally all begun. Marin, surprised, doesn't even know what to say, and the ladies realize the girl's line is exactly the same as in the anime. Although the 3 principals' positions differ slightly, this is within the margin of error. At that very moment, the main character wonders what will happen next, because in both the anime and the game, the screen simply faded to black, and the next day began. As if it were self-evident that Marin would begin to bond with the 3 princes. What happened during that blackout is completely unclear. Well, why do the ladies sigh and understand that something unforeseen cannot happen there? At the same moment, Alexandrite states that he refuses, and the lady turns to him in shock. The Emperor says that this is how it is, and does Alexandrite refuse? To which he replies that yes. The ladies in the hall are whispering that something cannot be killed and asking if this is true, because everyone thought that Prince Alexandrite would be the next king. The main character doesn't understand what's going on, and her favorite character refused this turn of events, something she didn't expect at all. At the same time, another principal states that he also refuses to be king. It's too much trouble. The man says that's how it is, and the main character looks at him menacingly, wondering what this means. After all, the question of succession to the throne can't be resolved so simply. She also mentally asks the divine creator what is happening. The blue-haired guy at this time turns to Onyx and claims that he will become the next king, and he also attracts the main character to himself and claims that he will take her back, after which the guy wishes everyone good night and leaves the hall together with the lady. The main character is shocked to realize that this is too unexpected a turn of events. When they head outside, the main character thinks about what to do, because this way the intimacy with Marin will not increase, and they need to quickly return to the hall. The lady asks His Highness where he is taking her, but when she sees his expression, she understands that, although he is trying to remain calm, she sees. The lady also wonders if the illness is really manifesting itself and turns to His Highness, asking if he is not feeling well. The guy just smiles in response and says that the lady is really interesting. The girl asks what he is talking about, and the guy leans towards her and offers to lend him himself for a while, after which he collapses onto her shoulder. The girl, surprised, turns to His Highness and asks what happened. Well, at that very moment, you hear groans. You wonder if it's an attack of illness. Marin needs to use healing magic. The main character claims that she will bring Lady Marin because her holy village can quickly relieve the pain. Well, when she is about to run for help, Alexandrite grabs the lady by the hand and asks her not to leave. The guy claims that he doesn't want to let her go, and the main character at that moment blushes with embarrassment. A little while later, they are already sitting in the garden, and the girl realizes that, thank God, it seems he has become a little easier. The lady also understands that she wants to quickly rid him of this painful illness, and to do this, she needs to direct Marin on the path of her beloved character at any cost. The journey to retrieve Librum to save Alex is the main event in the beloved character's journey. Librum is the name of a wonderful plant whose nectar can cure any disease. In the game, the beloved couple Alex and Marine go on a journey together where many good things happen. This is an overnight stay at inns and other exciting moments typical of Atomic games, but it is simply delightful. That is, during the journey, the beloved couple Alex and Marine realize their feelings for each other, and this is a beautiful story of pure love overcoming a terrible disease. At the same moment, the guy asks for forgiveness and claims that he suddenly leaned against her, or these, and probably scared her. The main character, with a smile on her face, replies that everything is fine, but in oils adds that she almost had a tragedy with red liquid coming out of her nose, but it's good that she held back. However, now is not the time to talk about this, and the girl asks how he feels and whether His Highness is better. The guy replies that it looks like fatigue took its toll on him, but now everything is fine. The main character talks about fatigue and understands that, according to the plot, only those close to her know about the illness, so she cannot say otherwise. Well, the young man says that thanks to the fact that the lady was nearby, it seems to him that things have gotten better. The main character hears this and becomes embarrassed, wondering if this isn't the same situation when Marin first eased the pain of her beloved character with her power. The girl also thinks why she is there now, and not Marine, because such a divine scene needs to be savored with her beloved couple, Alex and Marine. But then the girl realizes that now is the time for me to think about it and suggests returning to the ball. She understands that she needs to prevent the growing attraction between Marine and this Onyx. Well, the young man wonders if it is really necessary to return, and what if he says he wants to talk to the lady alone for a little while longer. The protagonist asks how she should respond to that, and her interlocutor claims that even if she refuses, he still does not intend to let her go. The girl almost faints at that moment, and when they continue walking through the garden, she thinks about what she should do. The ladies understand that she urgently needs to increase the sympathy between Marine and Alex, and besides, she was in such close proximity to her favorite character all this time, and as soon as she realized this, she immediately started to boil. The lady understands that she needs to calm down, and her interlocutor asks if she could listen to him for a bit, and the girl replies that she would be happy to. The guy claims that up until now he has dedicated his whole life to becoming a king. He cannot say the reason, but he no longer has the right to strive for the throne. The main character asks if he has a right, but understands that this is undoubtedly due to illness. Even in the most difficult moments, he continued to smile, and the reason was that he did not want to bother the people with his problems. The girl realizes that she cried so many times watching him try to save the people by hiding his illness. The guy always put himself last and always tried his best for others. This image of her favorite character gave her strength when she was in despair. The lady felt his boundless love for the people and admired this nobility. She wanted to give it her all. If her favorite character tries so hard, she'll try too, no matter how hard things get at work. The lady could rise because she felt that Alexandrite was with her. The girl also decides to carefully ask him about something and wonders if the right doesn't matter if he can become king by uniting with Lady Marin. The young man replies that this does not apply to him, since he decided to support his younger brother Onyx as the next king. Although he's often misunderstood due to his sparse facial expressions, he's a very reliable person. He's serious and never backs down from his decisions. But the heroine insists that this doesn't mean he's fit to be the next king. Well, the guy says that, besides, one miracle is enough for a lifetime. The main character doesn't care if he's talking about a miracle, and the guy replies that it's a miracle that she appeared before him. It's amazing when he talks to a lady like that. It seems to him that he will be able to accept the path without a crown, and perhaps this is the only miracle, which he's allowed in life. The main character is shocked, wondering if everything is really as she thinks. The young man claims he once aspired to become king. Although all those efforts might have been in vain, now he's by her side. The main character is shocked and wonders if this really means that if he is with her, he will come to terms with his fate. Alexandrite wants to say something else, but the main character insists that it is absolutely impossible. The girl understands that it is a miracle that she got into this world, but she will not allow someone like her to be a miracle for her favorite character. The main character also tells him not to worry, because it's too early to give up, and she will never let his previous efforts go to waste. After all, she knows better than anyone how worthy he is of being king, because she has watched him for so long. The girl understands that she does not have healing powers like Saint Marin, but she has knowledge about the game's passage received from her fandom comrades. Therefore, the main character tells him to trust her, and understands that for the sake of her beloved character, she will definitely get both Libram and Marine's heart. The girl insists she will definitely perform a miracle and make him king. In her thoughts, she adds that she will give her beloved character a true and happy ending to pure love. After this, the guy just looks at her in surprise and claims that it's not necessary. Well, the girl at the same moment asserts that it is necessary to urgently think through a strategy. She understands that, according to the plot, Marin must settle in the palace and communicate with the princes, learning how to become a queen. So it looks like I'll have to use this method. Well, at the same time, someone else is turning to Lady Ariana, and he claims she's been looking for her everywhere. This frightens the main character and realizes she's completely forgotten. At the same moment, the rest of the guys also approach Ariana, and Marine says how glad she is that she found the lady. The main character asks what is happening, and her interlocutor replies that when she was talking with Prince Onyx, Citron approached them and asked where the girl was. Marine asked if he was talking about Lady Ariana, to which he replied that he was. Marin claimed that she hadn't seen her for a long time either. Citron claimed that she had just danced with her brother Onyx, and the brunette claimed that he saw how her brother took her outside, and the young man with blonde hair asked, "Does this mean this is the same girl Alex's brother invited?" Onyx asked his brother what the lady was up to, and he replied that nothing yet. Well then, the brunette asked if she had something in mind, and his interlocutor said that he didn't know. At that moment, someone else approached them and asked if they knew where her Ariana was. Marin finishes her story and claims that this is how it all happened, and the main character says that it's clear. She also turns to Nadia and apologizes for making her worry. The woman hugs her mistress and says that it's okay. The main thing is that everything is okay with Ariana, after which she even suggests returning to the mansion and undergoing evening procedures. The main character asks her to wait, after which she gets out of the maid's embrace and approaches Lady Marine. She also claims to have a profound request of her. Afterwards, the main character asks her to take her on as her servant, leaving everyone else in shock. A few days later, Ariana approaches Lady Marine and declares that today she will serve her with all her heart and soul, and the interlocutor asserts that she would be happy to work with Lady Ariana. The protagonist understands that everything went perfectly, since she somehow managed to infiltrate the palace. The girl was worried she'd be interrupted. Even though she had to go through a somewhat brutal process, all means were good for the end. When the maid screamed that she wouldn't let her mistress through, no matter what, the girl claimed that if she didn't let her through, she would never talk to Nadia again, after which the maid gave in. The main character apologizes to her, but understands that this is to prevent her beloved character from falling into eternal sleep. At this time, Marine asks what she should do, because she was told to live like a candidate for queen, but she doesn't know what and how to do. Ariana understands that it is not surprising that Marine is confused, because she has always lived like a saint helping people in the city. And while training to use holy power, the girl also realizes that this line was definitely at the beginning of the anime and the game, meaning that's where the most important part begins. The main character understands that she will direct events in the direction of her beloved character at any cost. After which she says what will happen to the lady, and if any problems arise, she should contact her with anything. Marin, with a smile on her face, claims that with Ariana she feels much more confident. At this time, someone else knocks on the room and asks if she will allow them to enter, to which Marine replies yes. When a woman enters the room, she states that today, the lady will begin to study the knowledge necessary for the future queen. The main character claims that she will be happy to study, and the woman asks why the maid answers. Ariana immediately asserts that she and Lady Marin are one. She also wonders if it would be offensive to say she played the game from Marin's perspective. The woman also says that if a maid who considers herself one with her mistress also wants to attend her lectures, she asks to sit down. Well, at that very moment, the main character says that she refuses, which surprises the two. Marin asks if Lady Ariana won't stay with her, and the girl asks for forgiveness and claims that she has urgent matters. And for the sake of Lady Marine, she will try, after which the girl leaves, and these two think about what her business is. A little while later, the main character runs down the corridor and realizes that everything in the anime was there. In this game, between classes, you need to talk to the prince you like and go through the events that arise, as well as increase the character's sympathy to progress. Thanks to this, she enjoyed many wonderful events with her favorite character, and she will create those exciting moments with her own hands again. That is why she must prevent certain flags at any cost, even at the cost of her life. Onyx is training at this time, and the main character realizes that everything is exactly the same as in the anime. In the anime, on the day Marine arrived at the palace, this Onyx was seriously injured during training, and she was called to heal him from uranium. The girl did so and insisted that now everything would be fine, and the young man thanked her for curing him. Marin claimed it was a great honor to be of service to His Highness. This is an event from Onyx's route in the game, and the walkthrough website states that this event increases affection the most. That is, this is a flag that must not be allowed under any circumstances, and she will carefully monitor this guy to ensure that he does not get hurt. At this time, someone else is watching the lady, and it turns out to be Alexandrite and also Citrine. It's as if they are saying in unison that these two definitely shouldn't be left unattended. When a girl observes this bastard, she understands that he looks to me like he could seriously injure himself. She also looks at the boy and understands that he is a key figure in this event. While he was training, his ball suddenly slipped out of his hands and almost hit another night student. Onyx tried to help, but in the end, the sword perfectly pierced his own hand. Although the plot has many strange moments, one can assume that this is a deliberate move by the writers to add romance to Marin's storyline. Oksana. When the heroine heals the injured hero, she is simply charming. Well, the main character understands that this won't work for her, because if she steals this young man along with his sword, nothing will happen. This means that there is only one option left, and the girl approaches this guy and also approves that she has a favor to ask of him. The ladies understand that, as a villain, she will seduce this young man to take him away from there. The guy immediately states that he will be happy to help, and the girl understands that she also learned this from her students. If a nice girl asks politely, the young man immediately agrees. A little while ago, a girl said that for some reason, only in health class, no one wanted to attend obediently, and the young man answered that it was because the teacher was not a beauty. The girl also understands that seducing young people, who were a former teacher, is still unpleasant for her. But in order to prevent her favorite character from falling into eternal sleep, she will do it. After which, the main character invites the guy to go and understands that, in general, they need to quickly get out of there. However, when she is about to turn the corner, someone appears from behind it and asks where they're going. The guy at the same moment asks if it is really Citrine, and the main character wonders what the third son is doing there. Citrine says that maybe he can help the lady with something, and when the boy standing next to him wants to say something, the prince claims that he can go, but the main character does her best to show him not to leave. After which, the prince coldly asserts that he did say that the boy could go, and he immediately apologizes. Ariana understands that if he comes back, everything will be very bad and asks him to wait. Well, at that very moment, the prince grabs her hand and asks what her problem is. The main character looks at him and thinks what this guy's doing, because of him, everything went wrong for her. At this time, the young man asks the lady to tell him, and she asks if he could first let go of her hand. The lady understands that she needs to quickly return this young man, but at the same moment, she sees the sword flying in the air. The girl also looks at Onyx, but thinks what he's doing, and why he is just looking. Then, she sees where the guy is looking and realizes that Marine is there. She wonders if, in the anime game, Marinsa, looking at these two, slowed down and ended up getting seriously injured. Or another young man had to somehow knock the sword away, or slow down its movement, so that the authors could arrange for this couple to meet. Even if the author planned it, she will still save her favorite character and will never let Onyx get hurt. The lady immediately runs towards him and pushes him away with all her strength. But when she looks up, she realizes that the sword is flying straight at her. However, at that very moment, someone deftly knocks the sword aside, and when the lady raises her gaze, then she sees Alexandrita in front of her and thinks about what just happened and also why her favorite character is there. At this time, Alexandrite turns to his brother and asks how he could have allowed such a situation to happen. He also tells the boy to be careful, and he only apologizes. After which, the blue-haired boy turns to her and extends his hand. The main character is interested in what is going on, and her interlocutor claims that this is what he would like to know. He asks the lady to explain why she's taking such a risk. The protagonist understands that it's to prevent him from falling into eternal sleep. Well, at that very moment, Citron pulls the lady towards her and says that Brother Alex doesn't need to be so scared because the lady herself is scared. He understands what could have happened, since it was a real threat to her life. He should have reacted sharply and let the guy try to prevent it from happening again. After all, he could have protected the lady, but he didn't do it, and Our Lady asks her if this is true. Alexandrite says it seems Citrine is overestimating her abilities, and he wonders if Alex isn't confident in himself. The protagonist wonders what this situation is. Well, at that very moment, someone else addresses her, and it turns out to be Marin. Ariana understands that an angel has come to her. She's also curious about what happened and why she came running so quickly. She also realizes it's good that her favorite character is there too, and now she can somehow increase Marin's sympathy for him. Well, at that very moment, the girl asks if the lady is really in love with Prince Onyx. The main character, shocked, wonders if she misheard. The girl also asks Lady Marine what she just said, after which he cries out that Lady Ariana loves Prince Onyx so much that she is ready to risk her life to protect him. The main character is shocked and wonders why everything isn't going as she planned. She realizes there are two types of people in the world: those who are supported in love and those who support them. A little while ago, someone contacted Ask, and when she responded, one of the girls asked if the girl should be friends with Watabe. The main character replied that they lived nearby, and their families were also friends. The girl then said that it was understandable, but in fact, she is interested in Watabe, so she wants to ask for help. Asuka understood that in fact she also liked Watabe, but still she remembered how in elementary school someone said what a poor guy Asuka fell in love with. It's so pathetic. The main character realizes she had a traumatic childhood experience. One of the girls asked why the ladies couldn't help, since they were friends. Fairy Tale understood that they usually never even spoke to her. This time, she really wants to live a peaceful life without any incidents, after which the girl asked how she could help. The main character easily gave up her romantic feelings. All she did was call this guy to confess to that girl, and thanks to this, she was able to start dating him. A little while later, one of the ladies asked the girl if she wanted to go shopping on Sunday, to which she replied yes. Then she asked what about Aski, and the girl replied that she was coming too. The ladies understood that, at least, she had made friends and was beginning to enjoy everyday life by supporting other people's love rather than her own. Since then, she always tries to make sure her friends' love comes true, even if their feelings coincide. If her friends and their loved one are happy, then she sincerely began to believe that she herself was happy. The girl wanted to dedicate herself to helping others find love. Therefore, for her, meeting with the idols where she supports the heroine's romance was also predetermined by fate. After all, she wants to help any difficult love come true. It's with this feeling that she's created many couples, and therefore she understands. It seems she's definitely having problems right now. The girl, perplexed, asks if they'd like to have some tea together. A little while later, the main character asks what about Mrs. Marin, and now she's talking about a conversation they had earlier. The girl claims that Ariana risked her life to protect Mr. Onyx. It was very beautiful, and the main character thinks what she is talking about because she ran like crazy. Martin claims that she certainly couldn't do the same, and the girl replies that she shouldn't do it. The girl also claims that perhaps Miss Ariana is better suited to Mr. Onyx, and the main character asks what she said. Well then Marin gets up from his seat and states what is really going on. She's interested in Mr. Onyx. Ariana realizes she knew it would be a question of love. Well, she also wonders if this is too sudden a turn of events, and if it was a mistake not to stop that dance at the ball. Or maybe while she was away, an event occurred that raised Onyx's popularity in her eyes. If things continue like this, trouble is inevitable, so a solution must be found. Malin then asks if Ms. Ariana also has feelings for Mr. Onyx. The girl asks if the lady really wants to know this, and her interlocutor asserts that she considers Mrs. Ariana a dear friend. Therefore, she wants to fight fairly by telling Ms. Ariana about her feelings for Ms. Onyx. The main character is shocked, wondering if the path to the KSU has already been determined without her knowledge, and if there is no chance to change everything and regain her favor. After which, the girl wonders if this means that her favorite will fall into eternal sleep and begins to cry. Marine immediately apologizes to Ms. Ariana and claims that she did not mean to offend her. The main character understands that not all is lost, and if she gives up now, it will be the end for Alex's fans, and she will never accept that. Marin probably understands that she loves Onyx, so it's worth using this. The main character claims that the lady is absolutely right because she loves Onyx very much. So, regarding His Highness, she asks him to renounce him. Before the girl can finish, she runs off in tears. The main character understands that in order to prevent her beloved from falling into eternal sleep, she had to upset Marine, and this is too cruel. The girl turns to Lady Ariana, but the main character screams that if Lady Marine is going to get married, she recommends Mr. Alexandrita, and it is definitely a super reliable choice, so she recommends it wholeheartedly. The girl asks where she is heading, so she asks him not to fire her. That's when someone else observes this, and then turns to the Holy Maiden and greets her. The girl asks if it is Mr. Citron, and the guy asks if he didn't listen, if the Holy Virgin is interested in his brother Onyx. The girl is a little embarrassed, and the guy says that if so, can he help? At this time, the main character can barely breathe and understands that this is all very bad. Leti also understands that she needs to remain calm, as she needs to sort out the situation first. For some reason, Malin's sympathy for Onyx is almost at maximum, and that's unless she increases her sympathy for other characters. Then Marine will be drawn onto Onyx's path, but she really doesn't want that. Still, there is a way to change everything. First, you need to arrange an event to sharply reduce sympathy towards Onyx, and at the same time, she will launch the event, which will dramatically increase her sympathy for her favorite character. Thus, victory will be hers. The lady also understands that it is necessary to increase the frequency of contacts between Marin and Alex. Well, at that very moment, the main character sees Alexandrite in front of her and asks what he is doing in such a place. The girl understands that for her personally, this is an incredibly fortunate event because she encountered her favorite while thinking about supporting Alex. But if he appears suddenly, it can cause a flow of red fluid from the nose. Alexandrite says that he is pleased to see the lady and claims that he was already going to come to her, but she came to him herself. The young man also wonders what she meant when she spoke about this recently. The main character asks what he is talking about, and the young man replies that he is talking about the fact that she likes Onyx. So he wonders if the lady could explain everything. The main character wonders if he really heard it. A little while ago, a guy stood in the garden and understood what Onyx and Citron were for him. Dear younger brothers, and especially Onyx, because he was always there for him. A little while ago, the boy invited his brother to practice together. He often clung to him and didn't want to break away. For such a sweet little brother, he was ready to do anything, and these feelings were sincere. Well, seeing how the lady was so enthusiastically addressing Onyx, and also hearing how Marine screamed that Lady Ariana was ready to give her life to protect him, for the first time, the boy wondered why it had to be Onyx. Now he wondered how the lady would explain it. The main character is shocked, wondering if her favorite guy is angry. Then she realizes it's probably because he heard that Marine likes Onyx. He probably blames her for not supporting him. After which, the girl asks for forgiveness, with tears in her eyes. The lady cries out that this is all because of her unworthy behavior, and she has upset His Highness. Well, let him be sure that she will do everything in her power, and she will undoubtedly unite Lady Marine with His Highness and make him king. The girl immediately bows and runs away, screaming, asking him to trust her. The guy asks the lady to wait, but she's already running away. At the same moment, someone else asks Alex's brother if she ran away. Citron claims that now his brother has a chance to seize the throne. So, does he really agree to Brother Onyx and the old maid still being together? Lesha replies that this is exactly what he wants, and asks if everything went according to plan. Citron wonders who he is asking, because everything went exactly as agreed. He advised the saint to be with her brother Onyx, and also reminded Onyx not to refuse if the saint invited him. The guy claims that they are definitely in love with each other, and if they are just given a little push, they will easily get closer. Citron, he says he helped reluctantly this time, but now it's time for Brother Alex to step aside. Alexandrite asks what he means. His interlocutor claims that, from his experience, the lady is much more complex than he could have imagined. It's better to let her go now before it gets too painful, and Alex claims that might be true. Well, before the guy can say anything else, the young man with blue hair declares that he simply cannot resist reaching out his hand to her bright light. Citron wonders if this girl has really drawn him back so strongly, and even if that is the case, unfortunately, he also has his eye on her and will definitely win her over. Alexandrite claims that this is not the case, and he just wants to be near her until he disappears from this world. A little while later, the main character realizes that she seemed to say that she would become Marine's servant, suggested so convincingly that she sat down. And maids don't eat with their masters, so it seemed like she shouldn't have sat down. And besides, it was right after that conversation, and she wonders if Marina hates her because she considers her her rival. At this point, the girl turns to Mistress Ariana and declares that she's glad to have lunch with her. The protagonist realizes that she truly is an angelic saint, after which the girl says that dinner with Mrs. Marine is 100 times tastier than usual. The main character realizes that Marin is able to clearly distinguish the line between the bodies of love and friendship. Everything I expected from the ideal main character. The lady also asks Ms. Ariana if she'd like to go out into the city with her next weekend. The main character replies that she'd be delighted, realizing she'd been meaning to invite him, but it was so opportune. The girl realized that the usual route through the castle was too complicated to support her crush, and that the next step would be a super sweet date. In the city scenery, available only for a limited time, there, she orchestrates the climactic kiss to secure the great victory. And by the way, they say that during this sweet event, everyone had a pencil case with a kiss. If this is decided, then they must capture the secretary of her favorite, Mr. Harry, and ask him to come to the city with him, and so the operation of a sweet date between Marin and her favorite will begin. Well, a little while later, the main character is already devastated and wonders why everything happened this way. Marin claims that she is immensely happy to receive such an honor to stroll around the city with His Highness. In Paris, he says that if she invites him, he'll go anywhere. The main character wonders what this means and why Onyx is there. The lady also turns around and thinks where her favorite is now. At that very moment, someone else approaches the lady and asks who she's looking for. It turns out to be Prince Cithrin. The guy says that, as he understands, she asked Harry for Alex to take on the role of escorting the Holy Virgin, and the girl asks how he found out. Her interlocutor replies that Harry told him this himself, and work has piled up now, so brother Alex will not be able to come. The girl understands that she really hasn't seen her beloved at all in the last few days, and she thought that the illness had already begun to progress. But it turned out that this would happen a little later, and the fact that he was so busy at work is quite understandable. But nevertheless, she urgently needs to bring Marine together with him before things get worse. Citron asks why she needs such a busy Alex when he's here, and he's willing to drop everything, even his job, for a lady. So, the main character just mutters under her breath that maybe she should change the plan and have Marine help him with his work, although that won't boost his sympathy that much. At this time, Marin turns to Prince Cithrin and says that thanks to his advice, she will be able to go to the city with Prince Onyx. The main character wonders if it was all his idea that Marin suddenly decided to go to the city. And what did he do? Marin turns to Lady Ariana and suggests that they arrange a competition to see who can please Prince Onyx the most, because she will try her best. The main character thinks that there is no need to try so hard, after which she asks her to wait and thinks what is going on. The girl also looks menacingly at Prince Cithrin and then claims that he simply offered to walk around the city with her brother Onyx and find out who he likes better. Ariana asks why, and the guy replies that he's waiting. He also just wants the lady to abandon her plans regarding Onyx's brother as soon as possible. Meanwhile, Marin calls Ariana and Prince Cithrin and suggests they hurry. The young man asks if the lady is seeing, since the Holy Virgin is calling her. The main character thinks, what is the point of this event if her favorite is not there? Well, and then she thinks that if Onyx takes advantage of the moment and kisses Marin, then she simply won't be able to survive it. When they are heading out in a carriage, the ladies wonder what interesting things there might be to stroll around the city in such a top. She also suggests calling it all off. The girl understands that this situation is critical, and as a villain, she must stop it at any cost. Assistant cries out for the master to hold on, because he sent a messenger to the church to ask the chief priest to come as soon as possible. Let him be patient a little longer. A little while later, the priest arrives at the estate. When he examines the guy, he realizes that the infection has almost reached his heart. He also asks since when he has been in this condition, and the secretary replies that since this morning, and in recent days, his health has been poor, so he has been resting from state affairs. The man begins to use holy power and then claims that now he can ease the pain of His Highness with his power. Well, he's not capable of anything more. Alexandrite, waking up, asks if he's really falling into eternal sleep. The secretary excitedly addresses His Highness, and the priest asserts that initially there should have been enough time until the spring of next year. However, the progression of the disease suddenly accelerated, and the guy says that it is clear. The secretary asks if there is any other way of illumination, and replies that at this stage it is only possible to slow down the process of the curse, after which he suggests that they immediately go to the church, because if they are in this place, they will at least be able to slow down the progress of the curse a little. His interlocutor screams that it is impossible to transport His Highness in such a state, so is he really out of his mind? However, the priest claims that if they stay there, His Highness's life will fade away, so they don't have time. Paris tells them to take him away, and if there is even a small chance, he wants to fight this curse to the very end. The secretary sadly turns to His Highness for mitigation, thinking that at least a wonderful flower, and if only they could find Librum. At this point, Onyx irritably asks the lady what she's doing. The main character wonders if he doesn't understand, after which the girl claims that she loves His Highness so madly that she hugs him like this. The girl understands that she herself does not want to do this, but Marine persuaded her to come to the city. The girl claims that since they're already there, she suggests they enjoy the walk together, and the main character says that since Marine has decided so, fine. The lady realizes she's being very blunt before Maria's requests, so, since that was how it turned out, she decided to destroy all hints of a relationship between Marin and Onyx. If she presses herself like that, Onyx won't be able to touch Maran with a finger. Well, at that very moment, Citron pulls the lady away and suggests that they stop chatting about nothing and go into the boutique. A little while later, the main character finds herself in a new outfit and asks His Highness why. The guy thinks for a bit, then tells the woman to give him the next outfit, and she agrees. When the girl puts on the next outfit, she asks what it is, and the prince says to give him the whole set. The boutique owner immediately agrees, and the protagonist asks why. Her interlocutor replies that the dress is so awful that if she were to stand next to him in it, he would be truly uncomfortable. The girl answers His Highness that she has no intention of standing next to him. He wonders why she clings to Onyx so much, because he and the Holy Virgin are definitely in love with each other. Well, the main character asks what he is saying, because the one who approaches Ms. Marin is Mr. Alexandrite, and she wants to quickly see how they stand next to each other as husband and wife. Citron wonders why she suddenly started talking about Alexandrite, and then the guy understands that the girl's goal was to bring the Holy Virgin and Alexandrite together. The young man understands that he doesn't know the reason, but if he manages to tear Alexandrite away from her, it will even be beneficial for him, and the guy claims that he is ready to help. The girl asks what he just said, but at that very moment, Marine runs up to them, and he says that's where Ariana is. The main character immediately turns to her in response and thinks how charming the girl is. Marin says that they now look the same, and the main character replies that yes, and also understands that this is great. Citron turns to Onyx and says how sorry she is that he was left alone with the Light One, but he replies that this does not concern his brother. Onyx also asks the boy if he's worried about his father's proposal this time. The boy asks if it really means that the prince who marries the Holy Virgin will become king. Well, the brunette asks if his brother finds this strange, since everyone thought that Alex would become king. Well, suddenly this offer came up, and it only raises doubts. Citron asks if they really thought Alex was unreliable. Well, at that very moment, they became enraged. He claims that he repeatedly directly asked his father to rescind the offer. Well, father said that he did not intend to change his decision, and besides, it seemed that the older brother was also involved in this matter. The young man asked his older brother if this was okay with him too, and the boy replied that the decision had already been made and he agreed with it. Onyx claims that there is definitely some kind of catch in this case, so he is going to find out what they are hiding and get the decision overturned. Citrine. He says it's surprising that the guy has such an interest in the country's affairs. He understands that for him, life is like enjoying chess or poker. Even winning that girl over is just a matter of principle, because he can't allow there to be a woman he can't charm. The toy he has his eye on must become his before it is taken away from him, and that is the only thing he is interested in. When they move on, the main character realizes that it is too dangerous, because if she takes them to the fountain, a kissing scene might happen. Therefore, the ladies understand that they need to buy time, and one of the ladies claims that it seems that now you can see a performance in the square. The other one says it sounds interesting and suggests they go. The main character realizes that the performance is about 2 hours long, and if she starts watching the play, now it's time to go back for dinner. The lady immediately grins and realizes that she thinks this might work. At the same moment, the girl turns to Mrs. Marin and suggests going to the performance together. Citrin asks if this is really the performance from the unknown corpse, and if so, it would be better to go to a real opera. Marin replies that it sounds interesting and she'd like to see it. The main character immediately takes her hand and understands that if they decided so, then she will tear them all away from her. The girl immediately runs with Marin, and a little while later, they find themselves near a play called about the legend of the saint against the witch Libram. A little while later, Onyx is sitting again with an irritated expression on his face. He tells the lady to stop acting like that because he's hot. However, the main character replies that she can't. Vitya wants to be close to Prince Onyx. Meanwhile, Marin thinks that maybe she should act as boldly as Ariana. The main character understands that an accidental touch during a performance is a classic situation. This means that they can touch hands, which will create a sweet atmosphere. They'll apologize to each other, but at the same moment, the main character says yes and asks for forgiveness too. The lady realizes you're a trap to increase sympathy. Even if such a situation is not in the game, it eliminates any source of danger. Citrin pulls the lady to him and asks if she can leave these ugly quarrels for later. The main character tells him to let her go, but the guy replies that he won't, after which he keeps telling her to give him some attention. The girl asks why she should, and realizes she doesn't have time for that right now. But at that very moment, the host comes onto the stage and thanks the ladies and gentlemen for attending their performance. Today, they will show the story of the legendary Libram flower, known to everyone in this country, and also about the struggle between the saint and the witch, after which he throws away the flower. The main character wonders if this is the very flower that can save her beloved character. Holding it in her hands, the lady understands that she never thought she could get it there, and is such a cheating turn of events really acceptable. Then the girl realizes they're artificial flowers. Marion says how wonderful it is, and that means the Libram has such a cute shape. The main character asks if she knows about Libram, and realizes that she thought that it could only be learned about through game events. The lady replies that her mother told her about him as a child, and she also read fairy tales to the children in the orphanage. The main character begins to imagine Marin reading fairy tales, and understands that this is simply a fusion of cute and cute. Well, then the ladies realize now is not the time to talk about it, and she asks if the mistress has ever seen it in person. Marin wonders if this flower only exists in fairy tales and doesn't exist in reality. The main character replies that, of course, and understands what it means that at that moment the girl either knew the name of the flower or did not know that it actually existed. What happens next in the game is that Marine, whose affection for her beloved has grown, learns of his illness and asks why he didn't tell her sooner. The guy replies that he didn't want to worry her. The main character realizes she couldn't hold back her tears as she looks at Marine's crying face. After this, the girl and her favorite go to the high priest for advice, and he told them that if they try the nectar of Libram, the disease should disappear. By the way, this scene was shown in the anime, and the lady relaxed, thinking that this was just a route of romantic relationships. So even if Maran doesn't know now, as her relationship with Alexandrite and her beloved character deepens, the truth will eventually be revealed. The protagonist wonders if she should explain everything, as there's still time. Well, at that very moment, Onyx sighs heavily and claims that the fairy tale flower does not exist in reality. The main character says okay and understands that he clearly doesn't know anything. Citrine. He says that instead of one worthless flower, he would rather give her a whole bouquet. Well, at that very moment, the man on stage turns to the saint and asks for help. The girl asks what happened, and the prince claims that this bruise appeared on his body a long time ago. And since then, his lungs feel as if they are being squeezed, and he is in unbearable pain. The main character understands that this is the same inexplicable, mysterious disease that her pet has. The saint claims that this is a witch's curse, and if this continues, sooner or later, His Majesty will fall into eternal sleep. If anyone is interested in how to save him, then the only thing left to do is look for Librum, because they say that it cures any disease if you try its nectar. Ariana realizes that this is the same as a way to cure her favorite character's illness. So, the main character wonders if her beloved character's illnesses were a witch's curse. Although Alex's storyline did feature a witch-related episode, there were no hints of a connection to Librum, after which the girl, in shock, wonders if this information was really in one of the routes of two heroes whom she did not even watch. The ladies understand that the reason for the protagonist's illness is a very important detail that should have been revealed in the script. So why did they decide to ignore it? At the same moment, the witch on stage asks the saint what she wants from her. The saint asks why the witch put a curse on His Majesty, and she answers that it is obviously because he was in the way. At that very moment, the witch falls to the floor, and the girl wonders what happened. The witch claims that the lady shows mercy even to her enemies, and that the saint really is too kind. And yet she so desperately wants to send that king into eternal sleep. She sacrificed her life to speed up the effect of this curse, and soon the curse will spread throughout his body, and the guy will fall into eternal sleep. The main character is shocked, wondering if the witch's sacrifice accelerates the curse. But if Alexandria's illness truly is a curse, and if the witch decides to do so, he could fall into eternal sleep at any moment. They didn't show this in the anime. The lady believes that they still have time, but for some reason she still has a very bad feeling. A little while later, Marin turns to Lady Ariana and claims that it was a wonderful performance. When she turns to the girl again and asks what's wrong, the main character apologizes and asks what happened. Marine claims she looks a little unwell. The main character then asks if the lady mentioned reading the story of Librum to the children at the orphanage, and she wonders if the book is still there. Marin replies yes, but doesn't have time to add anything. How the main character grabs her and asks if the lady could take her to the shelter. Marin asks if it's really right now, and her interlocutor replies that it's a very urgent situation. The protagonist doesn't know why, but she knows her fan radar is sounding the alarm. If she doesn't act now, she'll regret it for the rest of her life. A short time later, someone cries out, "Haven't they found the witch who cast the curse yet?" One of the guards replies that no, and they are searching all over the country, but so far without success. The emperor cries out that she must be burned at the stake quickly, and understands that if the witch is executed, Alexandrite will certainly be saved, so there is no time to wait for the ghostly flower. At that moment, someone else enters the room and asks what happened. It turns out to be the second Opal Queen. The woman asks if something has happened to Prince Alexandrite, and the man replies that yes, he is in great danger. We can't find any traces of Librum, so he doesn't even know what to do and doesn't want his son to fall into eternal sleep. The woman strokes the emperor's head and says, "That's how it is," but suggests that he not worry. After all, she is confident that everything will be fine. A little while later, the main character asks if that's really the church. She also realizes that it looks like the background from the game. The girl feels like a pilgrim, and her interlocutor claims that the orphanage is located behind the church. At that very moment, Marin's foot slips and she begins to fall. The main character is already about to catch her, but at that very moment, Onyx grabs the girl and asks if she's okay. Marin replies that she is and thanks him. The main character understands that she would like to see this scene not with him, but with her favorite and Marin. The main character immediately pulls the lady to her and thanks Onyx for his help, but says that she and Miss Malin will manage on their own from now on. The girl also says that it would have been enough for her and Lady Marin to go there together, so why is he poking around like a hawk, and doesn't the prince have anything better to do? The guy replies that they can't leave the two of them alone. It's too dangerous. The protagonist realizes she'd be happy to respond in kind, and Citron suggests they stop attacking each other and go. Marin says okay, and she'll walk them out. But at that very moment, someone cries out to the Holy Virgin and says that thank God she has returned. Marin wonders if something has happened, but then the guy says that Mr. Alexandrite is now in bad shape. When they approach the place where the guy is lying, the main character is shocked and thinks how this could have happened. Onyx turns to his brother in shock and asks how this could have happened. The main character says that there was still enough time, and the guy at that moment turns to her and asks what this means. Knew something, and Marine asks His Majesty to calm down. The main character understands that this is something she can't say, and yet, from that game, her favorite character asked Marin to tell her brothers this secret so they wouldn't worry. But she can't simply ignore her beloved's feelings and tell him everything herself. The priest immediately asks if His Highness told her about his illness. The main character doesn't even know what to say, but she understands that she can't give the trust of the Savram's favorite to him, so the ladies claim that she has the gift of predicting dreams. Everyone asks in surprise if this is really true. The main character understands that, despite some deviations from the imaginary, the fact that this place was a projection of Asuka's dreams is an indisputable fact. The lady claims that just as Maran has the power of healing, she can also see events that will happen during the year in her dreams. And that is how she learned of His Highness's illness. After which, silence falls between them, and the protagonist wonders if it sounded forced, and they didn't believe her. There was nothing about precognitive dreams in the game. Onyx then asks why she didn't tell him right away. The girl replies that she couldn't tell him without His Highness's permission. The guy then asks why she didn't ask permission, and whether she doesn't understand how serious these things are. The girl thinks that she shouldn't say that because she tried her best to save his life. Although she cannot say this, the priest then says that it turns out that His Highness Alexandrate did not want him to take her, and they found out about it and worried, and she saw this event in her prophetic dreams. The main character immediately nods her head joyfully in agreement, and her interlocutor affirms that this sounds reasonable. The ladies realize that the high priest is simply a smart guy, and she apologizes to him for considering him a useless extra in the game. Onyx asks why everything is like this. The priest claims that this disease is a witch's curse. If it becomes known that the heir to the throne is cursed by a witch, then this threatens the existence of the state, and so decided His Majesty and His Highness Alexandrite. The brunette says that's why they told him to become king. The guy clenches his fists and claims the future king is in danger, so let them gather the best doctors from all over the world. So the priest claims that conventional medicine won't help, and the brunette asks what he's talking about. The main character claims that only Librum is capable of healing His Highness. Onyx asks in surprise what she is talking about, and Marine claims that this is a fictional flower from a fairy tale. The priest claims they themselves aren't sure whether he really exists, but there's no other way. Onyx asks how anyone can believe fairy tales, and the main character replies that this flower exists, and she saw it in her dream. She saw how Marin and His Highness Alexandrite were looking for Librum together, and his illness was being cured. The priest asks if His Highness personally went in search of the Liberman, to which the girl replies that yes. Well, her interlocutor says that how can she see His Highness's life now hanging by a thread? As soon as he leaves this sanctuary, his heart stops. The protagonist understands that this is terrible, because the course of events is different from what she knows. The man asks when she had this dream, and the girl replies that it seems like about 6 months ago. She adds, in her mind, that it was right around the time she found the video. The man says yes, and if it was 6 months ago, then he still had a little time left. The curse had intensified sharply just a week ago, and the girl was asking if that was true. She'd thought he'd simply been very busy, which was why he hadn't been seen for so long. The brunette claims that the witch must have strengthened the curse, and at the same moment, they hear Alexandrite writhing in pain. The priest claims that things are bad, because even while in the sanctuary, the damage began to spread. But the power of the curse is too great, and at that very moment, Marin runs up to Alexandrite. The girl claims that she will transfer healing powers to His Highness, and perhaps manage to contain the spread of the curse. After which, she uses her power, and the main character realizes that the spread of the corruption has stopped. She understands that this is the power of the healer Marine. Well, the priest insists that we can't relax. After all, while Marine is holding back the curse, they need to find Librum. The girl wonders what to do, Vitya. She thought the key to salvation was for Marine and her favorite to find Librum together. Well, if Maylene also sets out on this journey, it will lead to the inevitable immersion into eternal sleep of her idol. So the lady thinks what to do, but at the same moment Citron. He tells her to wait, and the girl said that she saw this place in a dream. The lady replies that yes, and it is an ice temple in the far north, after which the guy says that this is excellent. He also wonders if it's necessary for His Highness and the Holy Virgin to go there. The main character understands that while playing along the way, she received help from the villagers and learned details about the temple. The girl also solved puzzles to find the place where the librum grows. Well, you only needed to use the power of the holy idea to save His Highness. After which, the main character doesn't think that her strength will be needed to get this flower. Well, the lady also wonders why the prince is looking at her like that, and the guy claims that then it's decided. After all, they'll set out together to search for librum. The main character wonders what he's talking about. The guy asks if she'll be okay with it. The girl wonders if he's being normal, and realizes he shouldn't joke around like that about her crush's emergency. The priest turns to the prince and asks if he even understands what he is doing, because this is not a game. The guy replies yes, and suggests he think about it himself as they're heading north. How many checkpoints will they have to pass along the way? The main character understands that everything is true, because in this world there are many checkpoints, as is often the case in various stories, and ordinary people have to go through baggage and identity checks, which takes a lot of time. In the game, her favorite and Marine overcame them without difficulty, and all this thanks to the royal coat of arms. Now the guy shows this coat of arms and claims it resolves all issues with a single glance. The priest confirms this is true. Well, when he wants to add something else, the guy says that in order to deliver the lady to this flower as quickly as possible, they need someone from the royal family. The main character understands that this makes sense, but then the priest asks, wouldn't Prince Onyx be a more suitable candidate? And the guy asks why? He replies that the prince trains daily in martial arts and is said to be excellent in swordplay. It will be much safer with him. The protagonist understands this is true, even though she doesn't like Onyx. Well, she knows that wolves and bandits will be waiting for them on the way to the temple. Her favorite was an excellent swordsman. We have thin hands. Looking at this, the inevitable game will be over, so we have to choose the lesser of two evils. The lady looks at Onyx and understands that he is the only choice, and while her favorite is unconscious, she will be able to keep Onyx away from Maria, and she will do two things at once. At that very moment, the main character notices Marine falling. The main character realizes that the scene where she heals her pet and suddenly falls wasn't in the game. The lady also wonders if it is all because of how strong the curse on the Alexandrite is, after which the saint begins to fall, and the main character is going to catch her. Well, Onyx does this and then asks if the girl is okay. Marin apologizes and claims she's not strong enough, but the guy tells her not to say that. After all, she is the one thanks to whom his brother is still alive, and conversely, it is he who apologizes. After all, he can't do anything. The lady replies that everything is wrong and that principle supports her. This alone is enough for her to find the strength to move on. The protagonist, watching this, begins to think about how she wants to unite her beloved with Marine. She thought that this would bring happiness to both of them. Well, even she sees that these two, they truly are drawn to each other, even if this phenomenon is the result of the work of creators. If she could, she would watch her favorite character and Marine's journey through the lubricating oil. There they would hold hands, and it would be the ultimate form of support for their beloved character. Well, the lady understands that now is the time for me to do this, and it is obvious that the most important thing is to save the life of my favorite, and also support Marin, and if this requires Onyx, then so be it. The main character says that she understands, and she will go for this flower with Prince Citron. That's why she approaches Onyx and tells him to support Marin, and that he can handle it. The brunette replies that the lady can rest assured. Meanwhile, Marine apologizes to Ariana, and the girl asks what she's apologizing for. The saint says that if her village could destroy the prince's curse, she would not have sent them on such a dangerous journey. The main character understands that even when Marine is having a hard time, she thinks about her, so she will definitely keep her happy. When it's all over, she'll make sure her beloved and Marine are always happy together, and the girl says she's fine. Thanks to her attacks, she knows what awaits them next and how to deal with the dangers. In her thoughts, the girl adds that all this is thanks to God's passages from the forum. The lady also claims that she will definitely bring this flower, so she asks Marine to protect Prince Alexandrite. The saint hugs the girl and replies that it's okay. Well, she asks Ariana to return unharmed. The protagonist asserts that they will definitely meet again. At that moment, Alexandrite makes another sound. The guy opens his eyes, and when he looks to the side, he sees the main character and thinks how good it is. Boxing was kind to him at the last moment and gave him a little more time to be near her, after which the young man, with the last of his strength, takes the saint by the hand, thinking that it is Ariana, and asks her to stay with him, and then he closes his eyes completely. Onyx, he turns to his brother with excitement. The saint asks the prince to hold on. The main character understands that her favorite need not worry. Vitya makes sure to use Librum to bind them forever. Afterwards, Citron tells one of the servants to gather everything necessary for the journey as soon as possible. He also tells them to prepare a small detachment of the strongest knights, and the servant obeys him. Then, the main character turns to Mrs. Marin and states that she is leaving. The girl wishes Mistress Ariana a safe journey, after which they depart. Onyx turns to the lady and asks if she is worried. The girl asks him what he's talking about, and the guy insists she's shaking. If the lady doesn't trust Ariana, then he still can. Well, his interlocutor replies that this is not so, and although it is strange, when she talks to Ms. Ariana, she feels like she's talking to herself, but a different one. The guy says they're completely different, and the girl replies that it's not about looks or personality. To put it another way, they have the same underlying essence or something like that. Brunette claims he doesn't understand at all, and the lady says that in any case she trusts Mrs. Ariana. That's why she does. She will do everything she must to the fullest. After which, the girl begins to use holy power and asks Prince Alexandrite to return. A little while later, the main character is heading in a carriage, but then she turns to Nadia, and he asks why she's clinging to her like that all this time. The woman replies that it's because she's so happy with what Ariana gave her that she simply can't resist. Citron is interested in what the maid is doing from the very beginning, and most importantly, the heroine suggests that he not pay attention, because this is normal for her. The guy claims that either she herself said that she really wanted to take her with her, and that's why she invited her into the carriage. Well, he wonders if she'll be useful at all. The maid asks if Mistress Ariana really said she wanted to take her with her, but she is so happy that she is ready to go crazy, and in the name of the mistress, she is ready to jump into water or fire. The guy says okay and asks what exactly she can do. The woman then wants to say something, but he notices that the wasp wants to fly up to the lady, after which she deftly plunges her into eternal sleep. The main character is so shocked by this gets scared, and the woman claims that, for example, she can instantly eliminate the threat to Ms. Ariana. Citrine. He says that this is quite good, and the woman claims that whoever tries to approach Madame Court has bad intentions. She'll erase him from this world entirely, so the guy can rest easy. The main character realizes she's saying this with a wide smile, and that's somehow even more frightening. Nadia suggests to the prince not to worry about Mrs. Ariana, and the guy says that they will still see. The main character thinks about the strange atmosphere there, and the woman says that, by the way, she's been serving for many years, but didn't know the lady had the gift of prophetic dreams. Lately, new sides of the lady have been emerging, as if she's become a different person. Ariana realizes that Nadia knows the real Ariana too well. Predictive dreams are a fiction she used to get out of that situation. Of course, the likelihood that the real Ariana actually had prophetic dreams is almost zero. If the maid finds out that she is an imposter, hiding behind the name of Madame Ariana, she will take reprisals against her, and then she won't have long to live. The lady realizes she must avoid falling into eternal sleep before she saves her beloved, so she must find a way. The girl says that in fact everything was like that, but she kept silent so that Nadia wouldn't worry, and now she's apologizing. The main character looks at the maid's reaction and thinks what it is, but at that very moment, the maid tells the mistress not to worry about anything. Ariana realizes that she has succeeded, and the maid at that very moment hugs her mistress, and she says that if she can see prophetic dreams, then the villain attempting to kill her could cause big problems, but she will definitely protect her. Citron asks if he's seeing things, and she's even willing to put him into eternal sleep, after which the guy takes the lady by the hand and says that, okay, it's worth leaving this for now. In the meantime, let the lady explain what they need to do next. The main character understands that this is, after all, a map of this world, and the maid is upset, tells the mistress to return to her place, and screams for His Highness to move away from Madame Ariana. The main character tells Nadia. She was silent for a bit, and the maid sadly turned to her mistress. The girl claims that first they will direct the carriage to the sea to get to the coast, and after that, they will drive along the coast and first stop in this city. The woman says, "Who would have thought the lady knew geography so well?" And the girl replies that she had a dream. The lady also understands that I'll need to persistently ask for details later. At this time, the guy is wondering why he is going to this particular city, since the city in front of him will allow him to get to his destination faster, and the girl understands that an important event will take place there. If you fail at this stage and don't get that thing, then it might not work out, and the girl says that she also saw this in a dream, and in order to get this flower, they need to do something there. The guy asks if this is true, and the lady replies that yes, and she also says that she has a request for Prince Citron. The guy asks what she wants to ask, and then looks at the lady's face. The girl claims that it will soon get dark, so they need to quickly find a place to stay for the night, as moving at night is dangerous. The maid immediately asserts that she will do as her mistress says, and she will find suitable, decent housing for her. Meanwhile, the prince remarks that it seems Nadia forgets that he actually belongs to the royal family. A little while later, the guy is already in the bathroom and is thinking about what the lady wanted to say then. And Tetiana was sitting with such a face, so he wondered what that grimace meant. He curses and realizes it's bothering him. Then he grabs his robe and says maybe he should go ask her right now. Well, at that very moment, someone turns to Prince Citron. Listen. He apologizes but tells the lady that His Highness is already resting, and the girl says that it is understandable because then nothing can be done. The boy immediately emerges from the bath and tells them to wait. The servant, a little embarrassed, turns to the prince and asks what kind of sight it is. Citrine. He claims he never thought the lady would come to him herself and what prompted her to do so. The girl replies that she came to discuss the conversation in the carriage. Her interlocutor claims that he just wanted to ask her about this, and the lady says that then everything is simpler. Well, the girl also claims that it is inconvenient to talk there, so she asks if they could be left alone. A little while later, the main character looks around the room and says that, as expected, the room is designed for royalty, simply gorgeous. Citron wonders if she could have come to the men's quarters alone at night. It's like telling her to attack her, after which the guy understands that he will do it, so that she would be charmed by his charm, and when he approaches the lady, she would turn to him in surprise. However, when a guy turns to a girl and asks what this conversation is for the two of them, then the main character turns around with red liquid coming out of her nose, and her interlocutor asks what's wrong with her face. The lady claims she has something to talk to His Highness about, after which she shows him her homemade Alexa alphabet. It says that he was born with a noble spirit, like a shining diamond. The youth is elegant and refined, and he is the highest of nobles. His gentle manners and kindness to everyone when he addresses the people as a prince, and his clear and calm speech inspire such composure that the answers can only be yes or of course. His talents are playing instruments, and the guy plays the piano, flute, violin, and cello. Citron asks what it is, and the main character, with a smile on her face, claims that he listened to her from that moment on. She'll hammer home all the basics about His Highness Alexandrite. The guy just repeats that the lady has red fluid coming from her nose and asks what this Alex alphabet is. A little while later, the girl is already wiping away the red liquid that was on her nose. The lady realizes that she knew that this hotel had special airport facilities for royalty. This is because it is a sacred place of the exciting country where Maureen takes care of her sick pet all night. The main character understands that the answer is simply wonderful, and as soon as she thinks about it, the red liquid from her nose does not stop flowing. And yet, she didn't come there just to admire the sacred place, because she has a task that she must complete for her favorite. After which, the girl asks if Prince Citron is ready to listen to her carefully. Her interlocutor is only interested in whether the girl is aware of how bad she looks now. He also wonders where the maid went, because he doesn't think she would have allowed him to leave her alone. The main character replies that she pressed her slightly, and the guy says that's how it is. After which, the lady lays out the papers on the table and says that from now on, she wants to instill in Prince Citron manners and speech similar to His Highness Alexandrite. The guy asks why he needs it, and the lady replies that it is vital for the trip to the temple. Now she will tell him everything she knows, so let him tune in to perception and listen extremely carefully. After this, on the way to the temple in the far north, they will visit the village of Tremy. In this village, many residents are falling into eternal sleep due to illness, and although the illness is curable with medicine, it is so severe that it is impossible to obtain it. This is all because the Baron and Baroness, who ruled the village, bought up all the medicine. Not only have they stocked up on the medicine for themselves, but they are also living off it by selling it at exorbitant prices. For ordinary people, it has become inaccessible, and they can only endure pain or wait to plunge into eternal sleep. That is why it is so sad. Her favorite, having learned of this misfortune from the villagers, immediately took action. Marin, with her healing powers, relieved the villagers' pain, and her favorite, surprisingly alone, went to the baronial couple and persuaded them with words. The guy claimed that he wanted a bright future together with their people. Even though the past elections and actions were wrong, the future could be changed. By supporting each other, they can start from scratch and find the courage to take a step forward. The girl understands that this is the greatest weapon, that is, the smile of a noble prince, and what they gain from the Baron's trait at that moment will be the key to obtaining Librum. If they make a mistake during this event, it will be game over, and this is the most important moment. Therefore, now the lady understands that the important mission that her brilliant favorite completed must now be fulfilled by this prince. The outcome of the mission depends on how convincing his words are in touching the hearts of his interlocutor, but she doesn't think this guy can handle it. Then, let him better copy the speech of her idol flawlessly, and her teaching instinct tells her that this is the best way. Of course, she remembers the words for this scene by heart, after which the guy turns to the lady, and she wonders who Alex is to her. The protagonist asks him what he's talking about, after which the young man rises from his seat, and he goes to the lady and also says that she knows so many details about his older brother Alex, and this is not normal. The guy also asks if she really likes his brother Alex, even though she recently tried to bring the Holy Virgin and her brother Alex together. If she didn't love him, would she have been able to collect so much information? The main character, in response to this, only smirks and tells him not to underestimate her, who is the self-proclaimed representative of all Alex fans. The young man asks what she is talking about, and the lady cries out that, from the cradle to the grave, she will watch over her pet's happiness and support him with all her heart. This is what her fan life is like, and in order to support your favorite with all your heart, you need information. The girl also asks if he understands, and claims that the paper in her hands is a homemade Bible needed to love an idol until she falls into eternal sleep. See Trian. She says that the only thing that is clear is that it is very important to her, and then the guy also asks what a favorite is, and the girl screams that it is very good that he asked. The lady claims that this is her life, her oasis, her faith, and her world, and to put it another way, she is very grateful to him for being born. The girl says that this is what it is, and her interlocutor claims that this no longer resembles an attitude towards a person, and that means she is not jealous of the Holy Virgin who is next to her brother Alex, because she does not have romantic feelings for him. The main character claims that only a goddess can love a god, and this is an absolute rule. That is, only the goddess Marianne has the right to love God. And the girl asks if he understands. The guy says that's it, and if so, then on the contrary, it might even be interesting. He also wonders if she will try to promote him if he fulfills her wish. Well, the main character tells this octopus to stop talking nonsense. Making someone a favorite at someone's request is nonsense. After all, a favorite is when, in the midst of difficult days full of ups and downs, thanks to him, she found strength and courage, and also healing, so the lady tells him not to dare underestimate his favorite, and the guy thinks that, frankly, he doesn't really understand. But if you become her favorite, that is, the object of adoration, then perhaps she will stop looking at him with that frightening and indifferent look. The girl also says that to save her favorite, they will train all night tonight, and the guy says that if she can, let her try. The guy also understands that in one night, he will make her recognize him as her new favorite. The next day, they are already heading in a carriage, and the main character realizes that this is how they arrived in the village of Tremy. One way or another, they did everything they could in one night. The girl asked His Highness if he was ready, and he insisted that everything was fine, shouted again whether she could really trust him, and understood that her speech had to be impeccable. Therefore, now she mentally asks the gods who protect her favorite to protect the success of this plan. Citron glances at the lady, then smiles all over. A short time later, they arrive at the Baron's house. The Baroness, with a smile on her face, asks if Prince Citron, the precious diamond of their wonderful country, has really come to visit them. The woman also tells her darling that Prince Sithrin visited their wilderness, and she simply can't believe it. The main character, looking at the Baron's face, realizes that the question of why they came to this god-forsaken wilderness seems to be written on it. The girl smiles and understands that, first of all, Prince Sithrin must create a reason to pronounce the word Turek. And now this is not a story along Alex's route. Their chronology, other, and also characters. Their crimes need to be revealed in a different way, and the girl shows a petition about the harm of the Baron buying up drugs. The lady claims that the palace received a petition like this one. She would therefore like to confirm its contents. The woman asks if the lady is talking about the petition, and the girl replies that yes, it says that the two of them are illegally monopolizing the medicine for the infection. The girl understands what they want. The petition is hers. It's fiction, but its essence is like a game. That is, it's not false. The Baron asks what this lady is even talking about, and the Baronesses scream that they have nothing. The main character asks if this is true, and then goes to the wall with the clock. Bernice screams what she is doing, and the maid offers, "Mistress Tyr." Answer, "It's dangerous." The main character pulls out a bottle of antidote from behind her watch and asks what it is. The girl also understands that everything is going according to the game's scenario, and then says that it seems like it's a medicine. The main character wonders why it was there, and the woman screams that she gave it away, but the girl replies that she won't give it back. Well, when she moves a little further, she feels her foot slip and the lady begins to fall. Well, at that very moment, the prince grabs her in his arms and asks if the lady is okay. The main character replies yes and thanks him, after which the guy asks if he can act now. The girl understands that now is the time to apply the skills honed yesterday, and the guy tells her to rely on him. The main character thinks that in the original story, this was her favorite speech. But now, what can you do? The evidence is presented, and if the prince pronounces the words of the story, there will be no problems. Although her interlocutor asks whether it is not better to save the peasants and win their love and respect, it's much more pleasant after all. The Baron and Baroness look at him in surprise, and the main character realizes that this is completely different from what they were working on yesterday. The lady doesn't understand what he's up to, and the Baron asks what he means. The young man turns to the Baroness and claims it's disgusting when people cast disdainful glances at her while they're out for a walk. It sounds much nicer when someone says that you are Mr. Baron, and Madame Baroness looked there because they are magnificent today, and the guys are interested in what she likes to hear more. Instead of engaging in such petty mischief and being hated, wouldn't it be better to charm all the villagers so they'd bring them gifts themselves? Wouldn't that be more fun? The girl understands that her favorite would never utter such words. The Baroness immediately, with a smile on her face, says that, if you look at it realistically, he's right. The girl understands that the prince is now winning their hearts and is leading them to the idea of distributing the medicine. The lady also wonders how this could happen and why she forgot about it. When she was a teacher, she always thought about how important it is to value each person's individuality, and even a favorite has its own charm. And now Sithrin is solving the problem on her own. She loved being there to watch her students find their own path. So, could she really feel this in the new world? A few moments later, the guy asks if they'll distribute free medications to the residents, to which they reply yes, and they'll do it immediately. After this, the young man turns to the main character and asks how she liked his performance, and also whether she wanted to make him her favorite. The girl answers that she gives him 100 points out of 100. After this, the guy feels his ears start to turn red and wonders what is happening to him. A little time passed. They were already in the carriage, and the girl said how wonderful it was that everything worked out. The maid claimed it was all thanks to Mistress Ariana, and the lady replies that everything is not so, because it is all thanks to Prince Citrinu, and therefore she thanks him. The guy says that there is nothing special about it, and then claims that it is, as she asked. He received this pendant from the Baroness. A while ago, the guy asked where such a pendant could be purchased. After all, he also wants one like this, and the woman claimed that she could give it to him. Now the guy asks what it is for, and the girl answers that this pendant is a key that allows you to get a flower in the temple where they are now heading. The young man wonders if she is talking about the ice temple, but he has only heard about it in fairy tales. So does it really exist? The main character replies that he can leave it to her because she will bring him to his senses. To the ice temple. A short time later, they find themselves in front of this temple. The main character claims that this is an icy sanctuary in the far north, where Libram grows. The lady realizes that when she first saw this place in the illustration in the game, it was so beautiful that she immediately took a screenshot. Sithrin asks if it really exists. He also wonders how the lady knew that if they entered that huge tree in the forest, they would find themselves there. The girl replies that all this is the will of the divine patron, who is her favorite. The lady also looks around and understands that that person must be somewhere nearby. At that moment, someone approaches them and claims that those who are looking for Libram have finally arrived. The main character understands that here he is, and if we judge only by his appearance, then he is definitely number one in the whole world. One might even say this is the most perfect beauty that pleases the eye. The guy claims his name is Zane. He's the one who guards the Libram in this sanctuary from evil spirits. The ladies realize he's the mage Zane, a master of not only light magic, but also dark magic, and according to the script, he's her favorite, along with Marine. By combining their efforts, they manage to cope with all his tasks, leaving her with virtually no opportunity to prove herself. The guy insists that, whatever happens, he won't let them through any further, so they should go back. Sithrin! He says that he didn't answer. They have already arrived, so let him let them in. His interlocutor claims that only those with a pure heart worthy of acquiring the Libram can enter there, and without this sign he cannot let him in. But at the same moment, the main character tells him to wait and understands that now is the time to use it. The girl also says that if he talks about this necklace, then it is with them. Zane says that this is the necklace sacred to the chapel, and the lady overcame this test. After which, he asks to be allowed to take her. Sithrin, he says that this is a necklace from a noble family. The main character tells His Highness not to say anything unnecessary. When they enter, the girl sees a testing hall. She realizes that everything looks exactly like in the game. Zaina claims that this is the final test. He's trying to decipher the code on this wall, and the blonde guy asks if he's serious. His interlocutor confirms that by opening it, they will receive 3 letters to open that chest, and in the chest lies the key to the door. Until now, many have tried to decipher this code, but no one has succeeded. So will they be able to cope? While he continues talking, the main character says that she is ready, and the guy asks if everything is really ready. He is also interested in what jelly is, she said, and the girl takes the key out of the chest and claims that she received it. The maid immediately turns to her mistress and says how amazing it is. Zayn only sighs and asks if anyone has ever managed to overcome this challenge so easily. The girl says that even without the powers of the Holy Virgin, she has the protection of the great deity of fans, so everything is as simple as pie. Zayn understands that no one has been able to pass this code before, but she did it in a second. In fact, the solution to the cipher was designed as a mini-game, and it was necessary to find 3 hidden Latin letters in the text of this world and form a word. The girl remembered the answer by heart, after which she approaches the door and claims that the key is in their hands. If you insert the necklace and key into the recess on that door, it will open and they will be able to reach Libram. Zaynud's helicopter confirms that this is exactly how it is, after which the main character inserts the seal into the necklace and inserts the key into the other slot. After which the door begins to open, and the lady says that this is excellent because the road to Libram is open. Zayn wonders if the girl really knows so much about this sanctuary. But how could she know this? The guy also wonders who she is, and the lady at this time offers to go, after which the girl suggests going, and the maid asks the mistress to wait. At the same moment, Zayn claims that the tests are not over yet, and the lady replies that, of course, she knows. Her interlocutor asks what she means, and the girl claims that she has a perfect idea of what is about to happen. At that moment, the knights screamed, seeing a monster before them. The main character said it was his pet, and also the monsters guarding the gates of the sanctuary, and the girl asks if it is necessary to defeat him. Mutual replies that everything is exactly like that, after which the knights say in trembling voices that the lady can rely on them. Well, as soon as the monster opens its mouth, the maid immediately jumps on it and pins its muzzle to the floor. She says she won't let anyone lay a finger on the mistress. The main character understands that everything is going according to plan. In reality, if it weren't for Alex's condition, her favorite and Marine would have defeated the monster together, demonstrating teamwork bound by love. But she doesn't think the fragile-looking Prince Sithrin would have coped as well as her favorite, Nadia, with her, who would easily defeat the monster. The woman cries out to her mistress that she will definitely protect her, and the girl thanks her. The main character understands that she herself considers her plan ideal, and if everything continues as it is, they will reach the flower. While the maid happily addresses the mistress, the monster comes to his senses, and the main character screams for her to look forward. Well, it turns out it's already too late, and the monster opens its mouth wide next to the main character. At that very moment, he leans against her and starts wagging his tail. Then, he transforms back into his little form, and the main character looks at him and wonders what this means. She doesn't understand how the monster could behave like this, because there was nothing like this in the anime. Everyone watches this in surprise, and Zane understands that this is strange, because this Wat never gets attached to ordinary people. So they finally reach their destination. The main character says it's simply amazing. She understands that when she first saw this landscape on a game screenshot, she almost burst into tears of delight. Well, it really is not comparable at all to what you see on the screen, and the lady claims that she has never seen anything more beautiful. The girl also turns to His Highness and asks if he thinks so too. The guy feels his heart start beating faster and wonders what is happening to him. Previously, he would have definitely said that the lady was much nicer, and at least something like that would have definitely flown out of his mouth. However, the guy wonders when he became like this. The main character realizes that since this is how it turned out, she wants to give her favorite at least a few beautiful flowers. She also wants to see how Marine gives these flowers to her favorite, and she will peek from behind the wall. At this time, the monster sits on Zane, and he says that she has finally returned to work, so let her go and explore the surroundings. The knights are feeling a little strange at this point, while the main character is picking flowers with the maid. Citron approaches them and says that he will also help. But at that moment, the guy hears some strange sound. When he turns around, he sees Zane already lying on the floor, injured. The guy wonders what this is, and when he turns around, everyone sees that another guard is swinging at the main character. The young man immediately screams that she is in danger, but when the main character turns around, the guard hits her. The next second, the girl is already on the flowers together with Citron. The guy asks how the lily is, and the girl replies that everything is fine with it. Her interlocutor claims that this makes her happy, and the girl asks what happened. At that moment, she hears a loud sound, and when she turns around, she sees that the maid is fighting with the knight. Meanwhile, Zane is putting a seal on his wound. The main character approaches him and asks if he's okay, and the guy replies that he's fine. But at the same moment, the man looks behind him in shock and goes when the main character turns around in that direction. He sees Libram burning. The girl screams at him to stop and not burn the flowers. The maid asks her mistress to stop, but her rival does not allow her to approach Ariana. The main character now asks the knight to stop and asks why he's doing this. The ladies also realize that if all the flowers burn, she won't be able to save Alex. And the guy just smirks and says that the pain from burned down along with Libram, after which he pushes her into the fire. When the lady falls, she wonders what to do now. She also wonders if she'll simply burn to death along with Libram. The girl realizes that she doesn't want that at all, and won't be able to bear it, after all. She went so far to save her beloved. The girl also remembers how the guy said that he once aspired to the throne, and maybe all his efforts were in vain. The lady understands that she cannot end this, so she will not give up, and will save her favorite at any cost. At that moment, a bright light illuminated everything. A short while later, the lady opened her eyes. She immediately screams, asking what's wrong with Libram. Well, when the lady looks around, then he noticed that the fire had gone out. The girl wondered why, but at that very moment, she heard someone cry out to His Highness. He asks him to stop, and the main character also turns to His Highness, asking what he is doing. The prince simply turns to the guard and asks if he realizes what he has done, since because of him, Alex and Ariana almost fell into eternal sleep. Zane tells His Highness to stop because they don't remember anything, and the girl thinks what this means. The man claims that the aura undoubtedly indicates that they were controlled by a witch using black magic. Probably a witch somewhere in this world who would not benefit from receiving this flower. Well, also, on which I was watching them from the mirror at that time, he hits them and asks why so. Could it be that her perfect witchcraft was destroyed by this woman, and then she thinks that this cannot be? After all, this girl had even managed to seduce her beloved Citrine. The woman realized she needed to quickly get rid of not only this hated first prince, but also this woman. As long as she's alive, she'll definitely make Citron king. Meanwhile, Zane claims that among the forms of black magic is control. The person on whom this magic is cast becomes completely under the control of the caster. Citron wonders if the witch is there, but his interlocutor replies that this is impossible. This space can only be entered through the entrance opened by him, and this key is required for entry, so most likely she used a type of black magic called peeping. If you have a mirror and a magic circle, you can look anywhere except a sacred place. The main character asks if it is really possible to look everywhere, and in her thoughts, she adds which, judging by the name, is such magic that everyone would want to get it at any cost, and she wants it too. Okay now, and his interlocutor replies that they don't know who the witch was who used this magic. Well, at least the spell has completely dissipated, and at that very moment, the knights cry out asking for forgiveness. Citron. He claims that an apology alone is not enough, because they are knights, but they so easily allowed the witch to control them, and because of this, both she and he almost died. When they return, he will tell his brother Onyx about this, so let him punish them. But the main character says that the prince should calm down. The guy screams out why the lady is so calm, because her life was on the line, and the maid says that it is true. The girl asks both of them to calm down and tells Nadia to let her go. The lady also claims that even so, these knights didn't agree to this voluntarily. Now they're repentant, so it's better to think about what to do next than to reproach them for what they did. Citron. He says that this is possible, but when he wants to say something else, the people in the toilet approach him, and she claims that she felt that he was worried about her, so she is grateful to him. The guy, a little embarrassed, replies that not at all, but the girl replies that it's not that important, and that she should quickly take the flower for Prince Alexandrite and take it back. The main character wonders if all flowers are the same in effect, and maybe the more beautiful ones have a greater effect. Then the prince takes one of the flowers and asks what about it, but the lady takes another and claims that this one is better. Zane, watching this, understands that the girl interested him because the spell over those knights dissipated after they were found by the colors emanating from her. And in the sanctuary she was amazing, so the guy wonders if she really is. She's simply a nobleman's daughter, and that's how they successfully obtained Libram. And then, without stopping for a moment, they rushed to her favorite, running and running again, believing that everything would be fine. When the lady ran up there and saw the state the guy was in, she wondered if they hadn't made it in time. Marin immediately turned to Mistress Ariana, and Onyx shouted that Prince Alex was still breathing, so let her quickly give him the nectar of this flower. The girl immediately agreed, and when she approached her favorite, she heard that he was still breathing. Marin turns to Ms. Ariana and says how good it is that she returned safe and sound. At that very moment, the main character hugs the girl with tears in her eyes and thanks her from the bottom of her heart. Her interlocutor also thanks Ariana for bringing Libram, after which she even offers to give Prince Alex some nectar to drink. But at that very moment, she realizes that Lady Ariana is not responding. The girl turns to her excitedly, and everyone else is also shocked. The main character only thinks that now the life of her favorite will be saved, and then, in order for him to start dating Marine, she will invisibly support them. But no matter what, she will help them find love, and for this, they need a plan. Well, at that very moment, the girl sees some woman and thinks who she is. The stranger tells the lady to take care of herself, because her enemy is a witch, and she's very close. The protagonist wonders what this means, but at that very moment, she hears someone screaming at her to stop. At that same moment, the lady opens her eyes, and when she gets out of bed, she realizes that this is her room in her home. At that moment, the maid turns to her mistress and says she's finally awake. The girl asks why she's at home, and her interlocutor replies that the lady fainted in church and she brought her home. The girl then says that she was right and she was near her favorite, after which she inquires about Prince Alexandrite. The maid hesitates a bit, and the girl wonders if she couldn't prevent him from falling into eternal sleep. At this time, one of the servants says that he cannot believe it, because it really was possible to recover from such a hopeless state. Say it all that even the stain that served as evidence of the curse has completely disappeared. All this is thanks to them finding Libram. The guy then says, "This is what this flower is like." The priest claims that, frankly speaking, he doubted that he existed. But it's still good that they believed the words of that young lady who said that she saw him in a dream. The guy asks who this young lady is, and the priest replies that it is the lady driver Ariana from the Fox Knight house. While the gentleman was unconscious, Lady Ariana also ran there along with Marine, And then the girl said that this flower exists because she saw it in a dream. When His Highness's life hung in the balance, they trusted her words about the dream. And as a result, this flower was safely delivered, and they were able to give His Highness this nectar. The boy asks if this means he lived thanks to her, and the priest replies that this is exactly it. The boy immediately rises from his seat, and the servant asks His Highness what he's doing. After all, even if the curse disappeared, after he drank the nectar, he slept for another whole week. Therefore, if you suddenly start moving abruptly, he might feel sick, and at the same moment, the guy leans on the table. The servant runs up to him and says that it is too early to move like that, but his interlocutor insists that he must see Ariana. He turns to Harry and says that Ariana is now Lady Marin's servant and asks if she is currently in the palace. Another servant claims that Lady Ariana has been unconscious since then and is being treated at her home. A short time later, the boy knocks the gun out of his brother's hands. He immediately says admiringly that it's amazing his brother was able to recover so much in just 3 weeks. The guy also says that truly no one except his brother is worthy of becoming king, and how good it is that he recovered. Alexandritva then realizes that 3 weeks have passed and he still cannot leave the palace. Her from time to time, but it seems that the Ariana is not going to wake up. The guy wonders why he woke up, and she is still unconscious. At the same moment, he sees Lady Marine heading somewhere, and when the guy approaches her, he then asks if the girl is going to Lady Ariana again, to which she replies that yes, and she still hasn't opened her eyes. They tried herbal remedies and the fortune-telling techniques Prince Onyx had discovered, but nothing worked. She also tried healing her with holy power. Well, no matter how she calls, and no matter how hard she tries, the lady still does not open her eyes. Marin says that it's probably because she doesn't have enough strength, and if Lady Ariana doesn't wake up, then what will she do? Eunuch hands the girl a handkerchief and asks her to stop crying, after which the lady thanks the prince. A little while later, Alexandrite is heading somewhere, and his secretary asks him what he's up to, since he has no plans to leave the palace today. His interlocutor replies that he'll take the flower and go see Lady Ariana himself. She's still asleep because she was helping him, so he can't sit there doing nothing. Well, the secretary claims it's a flower they kept in reserve, and the exit permit hasn't been issued yet. The secretary says that in that case, he can take the flower instead of the gentleman to move anymore, but when the guy wants to ask, is it unreasonable? After all, there won't be any unnecessary questions and everything else. Then the gentleman just looks at him coldly. However, when the guy looks out the window, he is surprised because he sees the main character running with all her might. The guy is shocked and wonders if she has woken up, after which he tells the secretary that they are changing their plans. He tells Harry to go to his office immediately and get to work. The secretary, surprised, asks His Highness what he's talking about. He replies that he has urgent business to attend to. Then he leaves, and as he heads down the hallway, he thinks about the lady. The young man understands that he is glad that it was she who tried so hard for him, and at the same time, he was so worried. It was as if he was being torn apart, so the guy says it's time to let her feel it. The full depth of his feelings. The maid cries out at this point, asking her mistress to wait. The main character continues to run and realizes that her favorite is alive, because recently the maid claimed that they say Prince Alexandrite woke up exactly 3 weeks ago. The girl, running as fast as she can, understands that she must see her favorite, and he must definitely be safe. The lady understands that she needs to quickly make sure that everything is okay with him, and she definitely asked Marine to give him the librum. The event of the flower transfer from Marine to the favorite was supposed to work, and then the affection rating would instantly rise, surpassing Onyx, and Alexandrite would become the undisputed favorite. The girl understands that she will definitely regret for the rest of her life that she missed this touching moment. But even if she brushes these thoughts aside, he still wants to continue to watch their tenderness from the side and wants to drown in this atmosphere of complete all-consuming love. The main character also thinks that maybe she should first look into Marine's room, but at that very moment, someone else addresses the lady. The girl hears the enchanting voice of the noble prince, which echoes in her awakened ears. And when he turns around, he wonders if everything is all right with him. Looking at the guy, almost drowning in this light, he wonders if this is the charm of a favorite. Alexandrite, looking at the lady, understands that when they met, she also trembled like a frightened animal. At first, he was just worried and extended his hand to her. Her face was as worried as if she were looking at a lost kitten. Well, Contrary to his expectations, she ran away like a frightened rabbit. And at that moment, he couldn't even imagine that she would captivate him so much. And he simply looked after her. Well, now the guy understands that everything will be different, because he will no longer allow her to escape. The young man pins the lady against the wall and asks if he can ask her anything. The main character replies that he can ask anything, and her interlocutor thinks why, when he talks to his uncle, she always looks away. The guy also hands the girl a flower and asks if she knows what Libram is. He wonders why the lady's sweet face is so tense. Well, she understands that even like this, she looks stunning. The guy asks why the lady gave him this flower. He understands that this will probably sound a little cruel, but he just wants to hear it from her lips. He wants to know why she risked her life to get this legendary flower for him, and after this, he can't stop loving her even more. The young man claims that his illness was a closely guarded secret. So why did the Count's daughter know about it if even the prince remained in the dark? The main character replies that this flower just happened to end up in her hands, but her interlocutor replies that this cannot be. After all, this flower grows only in an ice temple somewhere in the far north. The guy realizes he wants to hear this athlete say that she saw his dream. He also claims that such a flower is impossible to obtain by accident. She discreetly sought it out specifically to give it to him. The guy understands that if he had listened to her story about the dream then, and if they had gone on a trip together, what if then she wouldn't try to run away from him and would be able to look him in the eyes? After which, the young man approaches the lady and asks her to tell him what if she really was planning something evil, how he should have punished her. The boy understands that no matter what, he's alive, and now he no longer needs to think about his days being numbered, so he won't hold back any longer and will ensure that the lady always sees only him. The main character immediately cries out that this is impossible, after which everyone faints, and the guy wonders if he really went too far. He also understands that he will have to take these to his room, but at that moment, someone says that he waited. It turns out to be Citron and warns that her brother has just recovered from his illness, so it would be safer if someone else, for example him, took the lady. Alexandrite says that it is not his job. The lady saved his life, so it is his duty to take care of her. Citron asks if this is true, and asks if Alexandrite knows, and also knows why the lady tried so hard for him. The guy claims something because he is her favorite, and Alexandrite asks what it is. His interlocutor claims that she said it herself, and the girl cannot even imagine that there could be romance between her and Alex. And, moreover, she wants Alex to be with Marin. For her, Alex is not even a man, so he would like to take all of this for himself. But still, okay, let Alex remain her favorite. But Citrine, he claims that he will be Ariana's man. At that very moment, someone breaks the vase. It turns out it's a witch, and the woman claims that things can't be left like this. The guy realizes that he thought he would never become king because of the curse placed on him out of this misfortune of despair, which means he still has a chance to become king. The next question is, which of the three brothers will ultimately become king? This is precisely what His Majesty had in mind at the spring ball. The man claimed that the one who would marry Princess Marine would become king. Well, now someone is asking the emperor whether he really wants to refuse the condition of succession to the throne. The man replies that this is exactly how it is, because according to tradition, the eldest prince, Alex, should become the heir. Alex, his son was born to be a king, and he is excellent in science and military affairs, and also has a charisma that can captivate the people. He truly deserves to be the next king in Onyx. Listening to all this, just nods. The boy understands that the condition that the king marry the saint arose because of his curse. This was necessary so that his absence from the list of suitors would not appear odd, and since he was healed, everything should return to normal, according to his father. Well, at that very moment, one of the aristocrats raises his hand and says that, of course, His Highness Alexandrite possesses the qualities necessary for a king, but it is not so easy to change established ones. The guy understands that it is not surprising that the nobility is confused, and to those who do not know about the curse, all this may seem like a whim of the king, so he wants everything to be resolved peacefully. Well, someone else says it seems things aren't so simple. Alexandrite understands that, as expected, this person has appeared. Cithrin's grandfather, Duke Campbell. The man says that if the king easily goes back on his word, doesn't that undermine his credibility? The emperor asks what the duke means by this, and he replies that the fate of the people can change dramatically from one word of the king. For example, which of the daughters will become a princess? Alexandrite wonders if he really brought this up. For many years, two great families in this country have been feuding with each other. This is the house of the Duke of Queensberry, that is, the family of the mother of Onyx and Alexandrite, as well as Tom of the Duke of Campbell, that is, the line of Cithrin's mother. The only way to seize power there is by marrying a daughter to the king. When his father became king, the candidate for queen was Opal, who was the daughter of the Duke of Campbell. The man prepared everything. Well, the father fell in love at first sight and chose Lazarite, who was the mother of Onyx of the House of Queensberry. All the plans made for Opal collapsed because of one confession, and the man fell in love at first sight. The country then plunged into chaos, and then Alexandrite was born, and the boy lived happily with his kind mother. But right after Onyx was born, his mother fell into eternal sleep. After that, father became like a puppet and delegated all his duties to the Duke of Queensberry, that is, Lazarite's father. Naturally, Duke Campbell couldn't tolerate such tyranny. He again nominated his daughter Opal in the queen, and the woman told His Highness that she was always by his side. Soon after, Cithrin was born, and the Campbell family became involved in politics again, and the conflict between the two houses intensified. The Duke addresses His Majesty and says that they are pathetic creatures whose fate is in his hands, and that one word from him could send someone into eternal sleep, so every word from the king must be weighty, to which he replies that his interlocutor is right. And the Duke says that this is why they, who are supporters of the Campbells, demand that the conditions be left, that the prince who marries the saint will become king. Well, then the other man tells them to wait and claims that they believe that His Highness Alexandrite is worthy of becoming king. However, after this, his interlocutor lies down and smirks and asks if they are serious about the print that was cursed by the witch. Everyone else is shocked by this, and the emperor asks how he knows about this, since only his close associates and priests knew about it. Well, he doesn't say that the guy has fully recovered, and his interlocutor replies that even if so, they are not so lenient. To entrust fate from the outside to someone who has at least once been cursed by a witch, and this is the personification of misfortune. At the same moment, he rises from his seat and tells the Duke that he was silent, but it is no longer possible to listen to this. Well, at that very moment, Alexandrite tells the guy to sit down and not interfere, after which he does so and also asks his brother for forgiveness. Alexandrite understands that things are bad, as confusion is spreading among the nobility. When his father and the priest told him about the witch and the curse, the boy didn't fully believe it, because for him, witches were just something out of a fairy tale. Well, if you think about the miracle that happened to him, then the curse is not such an incredible thing. They say that my mother was also plunged into eternal sleep due to a witch's curse, and if anyone benefited from their immersion in eternal sleep, then it was definitely the Campbell Herpes house. And the fact that they're talking about the curse now is also suspicious. To him, Cithrin is like a sweet little brother. Well, if the Campbells used the witch's power, then he can't leave it unpunished. Duke Campbell's goal is to marry Citrine to Saint Marine and secretly rule the country from behind the scenes. Well, if this happens, then the country faces a terrible fate, and that is why he, who was doomed to plunge into eternal sleep, he wanted to hand the throne over to Onyx. This guy doesn't tolerate injustice and is a fighter for truth. Well, Alexandrite survived, and now there are many obstacles on his way to the lady, so he needs to remove them. He will find evidence that the family used the power of a witch and put a curse on them. The boy also tells the Duke not to worry, because he will become king in a way that will suit them all, and he, the damned prince, will prove himself worthy of the crown. The young man also understands that he will forever destroy their reputation. Apparently, at this time, she is in her basement and says that her witchcraft is almost complete, but that woman destroyed her perfect plan, so she will never forgive her for this. The witch cuts her hand, after which she uses her red liquid and claims that she will now curse Ariana Foxknight. At this time, the main character is sitting contentedly behind the counter and understands that she has finally reached this point. At first, she tried her best to stop her favorite from falling into eternal sleep, and she succeeded in doing so, although it didn't turn out quite as she had imagined. The girl had almost resigned herself to the fact that everything would go the way of Onyx, but it seemed that the effect of the event with Librumo was colossal. There is no doubt that they have become much closer, because she often sees how these two had a chat, and there is just tenderness all around. So did Alex really overtake Onyx and become #1 in all this, because the girl managed to hand over a flower, and this is the main event of the plot. Moreover, their favorite Alex is a deity of kindness, generous and equal to all living beings, because even with such an extra as she, he treats kindly, as if sprinkling life-giving moisture, and the girl thanks the world for this. On behalf of all the Alexandrita team members, she proudly accepts the mission of making him happy. If that's what Alex and Marin want, she'll be happy to help them reach their happy ending together. She will become an impenetrable wall in the person of a player named Asuka, watching their wedding and diligently paying taxes. This is how it should have been. But a little while later, the teacher asks Prince Cithrin why he comes there every day, since he has his own mentor. The guy replies that you're just teaching history lessons. And since that's the case, wouldn't it be easier to just summarize everything right away? The main character claims that the curriculum for princes and bride candidates is different, so she asks him to return to his room. But Citron suggests to the lady not to say that, after which he says that everything is decided, and with a smile on his face, he suggests to the teacher to start the lesson, after which she agrees. Ariana thinks that for some reason, since that trip with Libram, this younger prince has become clingy and affectionate, and in recent days, they have been seeing each other not just every day, but the guy appears every time in the middle of the day. The girl understands that children at that age really do often disobey, and the girl wonders if he is really aiming to be Marina's husband. If this is who she is, she should not take her eyes off him so that he cannot get close to Marine. At that very moment, someone else enters the room and apologizes for interrupting their studies. The protagonist realizes she knows that enchanting voice, but that can't be right. It turns out it's Alexandrite, and the guy asks, "How about going for a cup of tea after 3 o'clock?" The main character immediately screams something, and with great joy also understands that this will be the event of tea drinking with her favorite. The main characters will be able to serve each other pieces of cake, and this scene is so divine that the heart simply melts. Citron looks at his brother with a defiant grin, and his brother looks at him in return. A little while ago, when that incident happened, by coincidence the lady fainted, the maid immediately ran to the mistress. She snatched it from the prince's hands and insisted that it was impossible to get up so abruptly after an illness, so she asked her to return home and rest properly. But she hadn't finished courting Ariana yet, and she still left her and decided to work as a maid in the castle, so her heart wasn't strong enough for such worries. Then Alexandrite asked about staying there with the lady. He had an excellent physician at the castle, and the lady was in no danger. And if the maid stays with the mistress, that will also calm him down. So he enlisted the maid's support. Citron then asked his brother if he was sure he wouldn't mind if he kept him near him, because then he could flirt with Ariana as much as he wanted. His interlocutor claimed that even if he flirted, the lady would still decide, and his brother asked what of it. A little later, Alexandrite thinks about this, and the secretary notices that the gentleman is lost in thought and asks if he is tired and whether he should bring tea, to which the man replies that it is not necessary and that he should better say what about the question he asked about. His interlocutor then says that he has prepared everything, and there are rumors that Ariana, although she serves Marin, takes lessons for brides with her, and sometimes even helps her with her studies, to which the guys answer that this is good. Alexandrite realizes he's enlisted her maid's help and found a reason for her to remain in this castle. A short time ago, the boy apologized to the lady and asked if she could stay there a little longer and continue her studies, but the lady replied that she would be happy to. Alexandrite understands that all this is so that the lady is always by his side, after which the guy looks at the time and says that he entrusts the rest to Harry. But he only asks in surprise where the gentleman is going. Well, he replies that he wants to solve one important problem concerning the royal family. His secretary replies that he understands and wishes the master good luck. As Alexandrite heads down the corridor, he realizes that leaving the lady by his side and becoming king himself is his primary goal, and to achieve this, he must remove 2 obstacles. First, he needs to find the witch who put a curse on him, because even though he was healed once with the help of a flower, there is no guarantee that the witch will not curse him again. There is still too little information about the witch, so we must act with extreme caution. Harry is currently conducting a search around the Duke of Campbell's family, and so far, he hasn't found anything suspicious. But the Duke is no fool, because even if he really did turn to a witch, he would definitely have covered everything up. According to current laws, both the witch and the customer, well then the guy interrupts his thoughts and realizes that now is not the time to think about it. At the same moment, someone else says to the guy that he has finally arrived, and it turns out to be Prince Citron. The young man says that his brother is late, and he understands that the second obstacle is her feelings for Onyx. The guy also says that he wants to hear who decided in what order they will sit. When Citron watches the main character and Onyx, she wonders why these two are flirting so openly. The girl replies that it's obvious she wants to spoon-feed His Highness Onyx. The lady realizes that, frankly, she would never do such a thing. Well, she still really wants to see the scene where AM is happening with her own eyes. Although it seems like her favorite pairing is almost guaranteed a happy ending, she can't relax. As long as she keeps Onyx close, the chances of things happening with Alex only increase. The girl also understands that all that remains is to show an example of how to do it right. But at that very moment, someone taps the lady on the shoulder. The main character wonders if this is a saint and asks what happened. Well, as soon as she turns around, Alexander feeds her dessert, and the main character is shocked and wonders why everything is like this. The guy claims that this is his favorite cheesecake and asks if it is tasty because he really wanted the lady to try it. The main character is shocked and wonders if her pet's favorite food is really this cheesecake, and she's hearing such information for the first time. The girl doesn't even know what to answer and understands that she is so worried that she doesn't even understand the taste. But the main thing is to replenish her water supply. At that moment, Citron approaches her from the other side and places a drink in her hand. The main character asks what it is, and the guy replies that it's his favorite fruit tea. Therefore, let her definitely remember this. But the lady thinks why on earth should she remember what the younger prince loves? Alexandrite wonders if the lady wasn't planning on drinking the same hot tea as him, but his companion replies that for a girl, a beautiful drink is best. The main character thinks they should wait, but then turns to Marie. Someone is shocked, wondering what's going on. She also thinks this role was meant for her, and she was monitoring the sympathy level, so why did it all turn out this way? However, at that very moment, Onyx rises from his seat, and when the children turn to His Highness in surprise, he only tells the girl to do it for his brother. The main character wonders what this twist is, whether the guy is actually helping his rival, and whether the events with the flower have influenced Onyx. She also realizes she needs to check this out, and then sets off after the prince. As she runs after him, she screams for him to wait, and the young man turns around and asks what happened. Ariana asks why he suddenly left in the middle of the situation, and realizes she can't focus on supporting Alex anymore. Onyx clenches his fists and claims that at the last dance, the lady herself said that Marine should be with his brother, and the lady also asked if they weren't the perfect couple. The girl replies something, but wonders why Onyx is suddenly asking about this. And her interlocutor, you see, asks if the lady knows how to make Marin choose his brother. The main character is shocked by these words, and she wonders if he really wants to help them be together. The girl also wonders if this is the same man who always shot Marine with eyes full of love, meaning that after that event, a coup occurred. The girl realizes that this is most likely the case, which is why, in Alex's route, Onyx becomes his knight. And if Alex gets a happy ending, it will be a happy ending for everyone. The main character immediately says she'll help Onyx with this plan, after which she shakes his hand and claims that she is also sure that no one except Alexandrite can cope with the role of king. Therefore, his actions aimed at making him king are also beneficial for her. After which, the ladies propose to His Highness Onyx to join forces, and the girl realizes that their alliance is sealed. After the main character escaped, Citron told her to wait. At that very moment, someone else approached the boy, and the young man asked if it was his mother. The woman replied that she needed to talk to him, so he should come over there. But he replied that he didn't want to because he had a very important tea party right now, told him to come over again, and the boy said okay, then left with his mother. Alexandrite realized that the queen usually called Citron through a maid, but this time she came herself, and that was rather strange, especially since the queen's family is now linked to rumors of a witch, so the boy is considering whether to follow them. But even if there are servants and maids around, he can't leave the saint, who is a true treasure of the country, alone. And besides, he can't just let that couple out of his sight, so he'd better focus on his own task and then send Harry for the Queen and Prince. The boy apologizes to Miss Marin for his rudeness. He also mentions that Onyx's friend left the table during tea. The girl simply tells him not to worry, as she thinks he has good reason. Alexandrite's video of the lady's expression suggests that the girl is also drawn to Onyx, and if they become closer, she'll understand. He wonders if Lady Ariana will even look at him in that case. The young man immediately turns to Miss Marin and tells her he has a favor to ask of her. He asserts that his brother is a very honest and good man and would never normally leave her alone like that, so he must have had good reasons, and the girl replies yes, and she also thinks His Highness Onyx is a wonderful man. Alexandrite then asks him to support his brother and listen to what he has to say. At that very moment, the two hear some strange sounds. It turns out to be the main character, and the girl, all red, asks what she's seeing now, because his lordship and Miss Marine are together, and it's so sweet. At this time, these two only see that the main character is holding hands with Onyx, and when Alexandrite wants to ask about this, the main character interrupts him and screams for them to forget about everything because they can see how her two beloved ones look at each other with their beautiful faces. It's simply delightful. The girl says it's too touching, and she's about to fall into a deep sleep, so she's very grateful to God. Alexandrite, somewhat surprised, turns to Lena, who wonders how it's possible not to leave such a historical event for posterity. After all, that's why she bought a camera and learned how to use it from her grandfather at the photo studio. If everything works out, she'll still have time, and the girl immediately takes off, screaming that she'll hand everything over to Prince Onyx. But he only tells her to wait. The guy wonders if she's really saying she's handing everything over to him, when that wasn't even the plan. A little while ago, the girl said they needed to make His Highness want to see them together, and for Marine to notice. But the guy only asked if such a stupid thing would work, to which the girl cried out that it would, realizing that this happens in autumn games. Now Marin turns to His Highness Onyx and says that if he has something on his mind, maybe she can help. Well, then the boy understands that it's impossible. He also remembers how the aristocrats said they demanded one condition, and that was that the prince who took the saint as his wife would become king. His brother also told him not to bother anyone, because he would become king in a way that would make everyone happy. So now the young man understands that he should have given up Marine. He also turns to his brother, simply places her hand on his shoulder, and, leaving, tells Onyx to take care of Miss Marine. Meanwhile, the main character happily runs over, saying her dream is to take a photo of her beloved couple with her own hands. The girl is also considering what kind of setting she'd like to take the photo in. Imagines these images, red fluid almost starts to come out of her nose. At the same moment, the girl also notices someone following her, and when she turns around, she's shocked to find it's her favorite guy. The guy says he's finally found her, and the main character, looking at him, wonders why he's there. Where is Marin? And where did that callous guy named Onyx go? The ladies turn to His Highness Alexandrite and wonder if something has happened. But he only approaches the lady and asks why she suddenly disappeared. The main character realizes he's too close and says she just remembered something she had to do. At that moment, she apologizes and runs away, saying she's leaving. The girl understands that if a crowd member like her were to end up near the deity, she would be punished. At that very moment, the lady trips over a rock and begins to fall. The protagonist closes her eyes and wonders if she's about to fall, but she still doesn't feel herself touch the ground and wonders if she really hasn't fallen. When the girl opens her eyes, she realizes that her favorite is holding her, and the guy says that thank God he made it in time. The young man also asks if Lily is hurt, but she sheepishly claims that everything is fine, and the guy says that this is great. He then looms over the lady and asks if he can catch her in that situation. The main character realizes that this is an emergency and that she'll soon have a red discharge from her nose. The guy also tells the lady that he's always wanted to talk to her alone. The main character is shocked and realizes that this is already unbearable and the critical heart failure mode has been triggered, so she can no longer hold back, and at the same moment, red liquid pours out of the lady's nose and she loses consciousness. The girl immediately finds herself in a different place and wonders where she is. When she turns around, she sees a man hitting her mother. She also hears someone crying in the other room when she enters it. Then she sees her younger self. The ladies understand that this is the only memory she has of her parents together, and that's when her father beat her mother. They say they both fell in love at first sight and, against all odds, got married. But then their feelings cooled, and he began using force. In real life, falling in love vanishes into a myth, and that's what her father taught her. Her mother took the lady and left home. She also told her to listen to her very carefully because she didn't want the girl to experience what she had, so she should study and become independent. This was her favorite expression. The woman also said that the lady was very smart, and she was sure the girl could live happily even on her own, to which the girl replied that she understood, and from that time on, the lady formed the opinion that she couldn't love anyone. Someone like her can't truly fall in love. Her whole life had been like that, but that was okay. It made life easier for her. The lady understood that this was a good thing, because she wouldn't bother anyone, would become invisible, and would live like water vapor. Now the main character opens her eyes and realizes she's seen this library somewhere before. At that very moment, someone else turns to the lady and says how good it is that she's come to her senses. It turns out it's Alexandrite, and the guy says he was so worried because she hadn't woken up in a long time. Lady immediately covers her face with the blanket and wonders why Alexandrite is looking at her and why she's on his lap. The lady once again repeats in her mind that she is water vapor, but the young man turns to the lady and asks how she feels. Alexandrite realizes that the lady probably never even considered what it was like when she touches onyx, and when he talks to Marina and she smiles so sincerely and joyfully, he always feels a slight melancholy. But he's not as kind as he seems, and he won't easily hand the lady over to his brother. When the girl fainted, the boy simply hugged her and wondered how he could win her heart. A short time later, he was already heading to the library, and the guards watched the two in amazement. The young man also suggested that they call his doctor, to which the servants agreed. Alexander realized that in fact, they probably should have immediately moved the lady to her room, but her room was quite far away, so they didn't want to bother her unnecessarily. Let her rest a bit in the library, and he'll call a doctor there. The guy also realizes he's heard somewhere that if someone has red fluid coming out of their nose, they shouldn't lay them on their back, after which he placed the lady on his lap, and when he removed the handkerchief, he wondered if the red liquid had stopped flowing. The young man realized that the lady had lost consciousness before, and perhaps she really does have some health problems. The young man also wonders what if her life is threatened by illness, and then realizes he'll do everything to save her, even if it means getting the flower she once brought for him, and next time, he will bring it for her. We look at the lady's serene face. The guy thinks when else he was able to look at her so calmly, and it seems even last time. When he accidentally met a lady and asked if she had any plans today, the girl only shouted that she would go and let them stay alone, and he could rest peacefully. But with Onyx, she behaves differently. But at the same moment, the young man noticed that the lady began to breathe heavily and seemed to feel ill. Alexandrite immediately asked what was wrong with the lady and insisted that the doctor would come soon, so let her be patient a little longer. But at that very moment, the girl begged for forgiveness, and tears began to flow from her eyes. The young man immediately asked why she was crying and whether she had just had a bad dream. The guy also said that if only he could take away all her pain and share her sadness. He also wondered if she would choose him in that case. But at that very moment, the lady opened her eyes. The guy silently prayed to God for sending this lady to tell him what he needed to do to make this beautiful girl pay attention to him. A little while ago, the lady had started the bucket and understood that this ritual was necessary to endure the hellish work. Official bugs supply them with new content one after another. The full charm and treasures of the merciless cards whisper to the compartment, asking if they don't endure the harsh, everyday life to obtain these treasures. The main character understood that everything was exactly like that. That is, in order to please the eyes, you need to work hard and build up your donation fund. Savings, and when the time comes, spend everything you've accumulated at once and humbly await the blessing of the gods. When the girl did this, she begged to get a rare card. The lady understands what she is, so now she asks God if such a generous flow of content is not too much. Alexandrite asks how the lady is feeling. She thinks he should wait a second. She realizes he's too close, and that she risks losing a lot of red fluid from her nose again. Well, at that very moment, someone burst into the office and said, "Here's where His Highness is," even though he'd searched everything. The main character looks at our secretary as if she were her savior, and Alexandrate gives him a look as if he's about to be plunged into a personal sleep. The assistant, in principle, understands that things are bad, since he seems to have interrupted them. A little while ago, Onyx was standing next to Marin. The boy was wondering what to do. The lady told him to handle it himself, and even his brother Alex had disappeared, something the boy hadn't expected. Before this, the guy was telling the lady that a council meeting had just taken place, and Alex was supposed to be confirmed as the next king. Well, the council decided to uphold the condition that the prince chosen by the saint would become king. At the same moment, the main character told His Highness to remain calm, because if her impression is correct, then Mrs. Marine is infatuated with His Highness Alex. So if Onyx pushes them, they will certainly be together. The brunette understands that now is not the time to writhe in chest pain and sing. Alex will become king, and he will be his bodyguard. This is the ideal outcome not only for him, but for the entire nation. And yet now Marin turns to His Highness and asks if this is all because of her. The girl, with tears in her eyes, asks if she has offended His Highness in any way. The guy immediately replies that he's not. And then the lady asks what's troubling His Highness. When the guy looks at the lady's tear-stained face, he can't stand it any longer and declares that if she and Alex don't marry, the guy won't be able to ascend the throne. Today, the council decided to leave this condition because he wanted him and Alex to get closer. Well, at that very moment, the girl says that she refuses. And the guy, looking at this expression on her face, says that this is a familiar, satisfied look. The lady replies that she tried to impersonate Lady Ariana and asks if she succeeded. Onyx simply asks why she refuses. Lydia replies that this is because, first and foremost, His Highness Alexandrite loves Ariana. A passing maid hears this and is shocked. Onyx is also surprised, after which he asks her what she just said. Meanwhile, Citron heads off to fetch her mother. Well, when he comes to this place, he asks what this is, and the woman just looks at him with a smile. A little while ago, the boy was wondering why his mother brought him there, and when the door to the building opened, then the young man saw a painting of the emperor's former wife and understood that she had never allowed him there under any circumstances, even though this chapel was built for the first queen. The young man looks at the paintings on the walls and wonders what his mother is going to do there. Well, at that very moment, the woman walked right into the statue, and the guy wondered if this was the same passage as the one they found when they got to the ice castle. The woman then shifted her focus to her son and urged him to pick up the pace, since he understood that he alone had the key to getting in there. The young man perceived that his mother's words carried an implication. They seemed to suggest she was aware they had faced this very situation before. As they headed lower and lower into the basement, the young man wondered if this was really what he was thinking, and when they reached the very bottom floor and the guy saw this mirror, he claimed that it meant it was his mother, the witch who cursed his brother. Onyx Bada is now near the saint, wondering if he misheard. He apologizes and says he just imagined she said his brother was in love with that girl. Marin, smiling, replies that it's true. A little while ago, Alexandrate approached the lady and asked where her maid was now. She answered something that she said that she would go outside. So then the girl whispered if she was nearby, and the guy replied that she was. Marin asked if he should invite her there, but the guy said no, and the lady said he needed something from Lady Ariana. Alexandrite replied that it seemed that as soon as he approached, her maid ran away, and perhaps she didn't love him. Marin replied that this could not be, because even during a recent break between classes, she asked what Lady Marin thought about His Highness Alexandrite. The girl replied that she thought he was a wonderful man, and the main character cried out that this was right, because His Highness Alexandrite should not only become king, but also be an ideal husband, after which she asked if the lady thought so, and she replied that she did. Marin claimed that this is how Ariana talks about Alexandrite's virtues, and she talks about them with such fervor that she most likely has feelings for him. Smiled after that, and the girl looked at his facial expression and claimed that it meant that His Highness really loved Lady Ariana. The guy then put his finger to his lips and showed her to be quieter, after which he claimed that it was a secret, so the lady should not know. At this time, Onyx remembers how the lady cried out that there was no time to waste, because her favorites were looking at each other with divine smiles, and the couple was almost formed. The girl screamed that it looked like everything was serious between them, and the wedding was coming soon, so they needed to cook red rice. When the guy saw these two together, he thought that his brother and Marine were getting closer, and Ariana wanted their union even more than he did. That's why he couldn't even imagine that her brother's beloved would turn out to be her, and he doesn't even want to think about it. Marin claims that the man she'd like to see as her husband doesn't necessarily dream of becoming king. Of course, she doesn't consider herself worthy of being queen either. The brunette claims that this is not true because he thinks that the lady is most suitable for the role of queen, but she claims that only His Highness Onyx and Ariana say this. Then she turns to Nadia and asks if it's true. If Lady Ariana becomes queen, she'll be happy, right? The woman already imagines this in her mind and understands that it will be simply wonderful. Marin claims the sun is already setting, so it's time to go inside, and the guy replies that's true. After this, the people suggest that His Highness try harder, and when the guys ask what she's talking about, she says, the girl claims that she will also do her best to help so that everything turns out the way he wants, and she asks if he will fulfill her request, but he replies that if she wants it, he will do everything